From the heart of Hoosier Country, here at the Lawrence County Recreation Park in Springville, Indiana, this is GNCC Live. Hello everyone, Rodney Tom along with Fred Andrews and Jen Kenyon as we bring you today's GNCC racing action from the Limestone 100 GNCC. And of course we have the stage set for round number 5 of the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Championship Series presented by Maxxis, an AMA National Championship. Beautiful terrain, a beautiful sunshiny day on tap for us, and of course we couldn't ask for a better championship that is shaping up right here before our very eyes. Right now, Jen Kenyon is standing by. She's got the lowdown on what we're about to see unfold before our very eyes.
Thanks, Rodney. It is indeed a beautiful day here in Indiana for racing. As you said, we've got a great event here at the Limestone 100. Perfect conditions almost here with the sunny weather, but the racing action is really what we are focusing on here today. Obviously, Chris Borich, 3 wins out of the first 4 rounds heading into this one here today. But guys like Walker Fowler, Jared McClure, Adam McGill, Chris Bithell, we all know those guys are really strong competitors. And let's not forget, Walker Fowler was the one who won this race in 2013. Of course, Chris Borich took the inaugural win in 2012, but Walker, we know when he gets those wins at tracks like this, he really comes into them fired up. So we know he's going to be a good one to watch there. But, you know, Jared McClure, he's been consistent. He's been solid all season long. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that you want to watch here today who might just sneaky snake his way up to the front of the pack. Adam McGill and Chris Bithell, too. Those guys are always strong. Every race they're up there. You know, we've seen them each have a mechanical issue earlier in the season. So we know that could be one of the things that could hold them back here. But the racing action, nonetheless, is going to be exciting. So let's head back over to you, Rodney, and we'll hear what the lineup is for today.
17 of America and the world's premier ATV pilots are poised and ready to strike the terrain of Indiana as we get set to roll into this Limestone 100 GNCC. Today, our starting lineup, our riders lining up in accordance to their points position in the championship points race. And of course, lining up first here today, known as the winningest GNCC racer of all time at a standing record and climbing of 71 wins. He hails from Sunbury, Pennsylvania, out of Maxxis, AMSOIL, Fox, MSR, back Suzuki. On board the number 1, your 5-time and defending GNCC champion, Chris Borich. Rolling to the line second today in points, riding aboard the number 2 from Rogers, Ohio, out of the NFAB, AmPro, Yamaha, Maxxis, Moto Experts, Lone Star Fly, and Hill International. With 1 win already to his credit here in 2014 and a win just 1 year ago at the Limestone GNCC, Walker Fowler. Rolling to the line third today in points, fresh off a podium. They know him as the Sneaky Snake from Casca, Pennsylvania, on a Jared McClure Racing, DWT Racing Honda. Jared McClure. Rolling to the line today, fourth in points. He rides aboard the number 4 from Irwin, Pennsylvania, on a Precision Maxxis Tires, back Suzuki, Chris Bithell. Rolling to the line today, fifth in points. Aboard the 521 out of West Union, West Virginia, a part of the McGill Mafia, RacingPowersports.com, CST, Pirate MX sponsor, backed by Lone Star Racing and Custom Access. On board the Honda, Adam McGill. Rolling to the line today, sixth in points. Aboard the number 6 from Marietta, Ohio, on a DeRisi Racing, Moose Racing, Maxxis Tire Balls backed Honda, Braden Henthorn. To the line, 7th today in points. Aboard the number 20 from Akron, Ohio. He is a rookie on a GT Thunder, Maxxis, Hauser Racing, Fly, Spider Graphics backed Yamaha, Joshua Merritt. To the line, 8th today, aboard the number 9 from Bidwell, Ohio, on a Dirtworks DC Cycles backed Honda. He is your rookie and last year's Pro-Am champion, the number 9, Bryson Neal. Rolling to the line today, 9th in points, aboard the number 11, a rookie as well from Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania, from Waynesburg, Yamaha, the GBC Fly Fast Seaboards backed Racing HMF backed Yamaha, Jay Shadron. And 10th in points, aboard the number 16 from Manchester, Maryland, another rookie on a Maxxis DP Brakes ATV Innovation Suzuki, Landon Wolf. Rolling to the line outside the top 10 in points today aboard the number 7 out of Aurora, Ohio on a Yamaha GBC HMF back machine, Johnny Gallagher. Rolling to the line 12th today aboard the number 413 from Morgantown, West Virginia, Outlaw Motorsports Golden Racing VGR Honda, Stephen Golden. Rolling to the line today, 13th, he is the number 5 from last year out of Hopedale, Ohio on a B&R Motorsports Loctite Yamaha, Kevin Yoho. Rolling to the line 14th today aboard the 549 from Lebanon, Indiana on board the Yamaha, Craig Bowman. 15th to the line today aboard the 149 from Montrose, West Virginia, a GNCC racing icon, Brent Sturdivant. To the line next, 16th aboard the number 8. He hails out of Shamokin, Pennsylvania on a Waynesburg Yamaha backed by GT Thunder and GBC. He's Big Papa P, Jeffrey Pickens. And last and certainly not least, today aboard the 341, a man on a mission from Medina, Ohio, on board the Honda, Brian Wolf. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this, the Dunlop Limestone 100 GNCC. And as we get set to roll into today's historical race once more, fire them up, ladies and gentlemen, one more time as we get set to go GNCC racing here in the heart of Hoosier country. Likely that you're going to get shoved out by one of these guys from the top of the hill. So where is the best starting position on the starting line? As we can see, Chris Borich has positioned himself dead center nearly of the 17 riders. A little high on the right side, but he has got a beeline into that first turn and a straight shot. Chris Borich, not necessarily noted for his starts in 2014, a whole different Chris Borich coming to the starting line. When the green flag drops, he goes for not only the early lead, but that extra $250 bonus prize that these riders are awarded, courtesy of our friends at DeRisi Racing and Twin Air, All Balls Racing. And the 30-second flags are out. Shut them down, guys. Shut them down. Shut them down as we get set to go GNCC racing here in Indiana. I got to ask you, Hoosier race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Come on, Indiana. I know you can do better than that, and I know you love GNCC more than that. I got to know right now, are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at our Dunlop Limestone 100 GNCC. Jeff Pickens high upside. He takes that high shot, and look what he does. Nearly threads the needle, but it's a drag race, and it's a Suzuki of Chris Borich taking over the early lead in this one as he grabs the whole shot award and the $250 from Twin Air and All Balls Racing and DeRisi Racing. We also got a $100 whole shot award coming up next, courtesy of those same great folks for our XC2 Pro-Am class. As we roll into this one, we got Cole Richardson, Fred Marley, Randy Hamilton, Blake Kramer, James Green, Brody Livingood, Jonathan Fugate, Tommy Coons, Ryland Johnson, Luke Upon, Christopher O'Neill, Martin Christopherson, Jason Boyce, Jay Humphrey, Luke Shepard, Stephen Michael. Also, we got Kevin Cunningham, Michael Palmer, and Marshall Goings in 10 seconds. .661, a good jump, but will it pay off for Jay Humphrey? Let's see, across the stripe, it is the 17. Kevin McCohen, Blake Tornes, Levi Cohen, Clint Graff, Cole Shiflett, Bryson Hobbs, Derek Pitzer, and more in 10 seconds. Logan Wagaman, Cameron Patterson, Travis Groves, Andrew Herring, Brett Cover. Also, we got Justin Hess, Cameron Bruce, Christian Meyer, Jaron Cochran, Greg Covert, Stephen Covert, Dwight Pollard, Kenny Schick, Anthony Herring, Tyler Wares, and Mitch Miller. Junior A class coming up next. As we got some action in turn 2, Junior A 22 plus class. Wes Kinsley, Michael Marley, Nathan Hornacek, Michael McAvoy, Chuck Norris, Robbie
Pecker, and also we got Pecorari. We got Michael Fulton, Matthew Lamberti, Jeff Bobos, Jordan Stein, Brian Spencer, Sam Ho, Mark Anderson, Austin Parks, Adam Upaw, Aaron Prigden, Jordan Dodson, Ben Bruce, and Doug Harden in 10 seconds. I think it's the 31, Michael Marley out of Osgood, Indiana, the younger brother of Fred Marley, grabbing the whole shot in that one. It must be a family tradition or something going on there. As we go to the Vet A 28 plus class, Max's Hauser, Sick Racing backed Todd Emery in this one. He is also Corey Blinkowitz, Nicholas Carnhill, Richie Brown, Wesley Stone, Bill Marstiller, John Cunningham, Thomas Jansky, Richard Palmer, Walter Schumacher, Mike Donnery, Mike Mittendorf, and Matt Pierce in 10 seconds. And they're off. Vet A 28 plus. Todd Emery, the 39 out of Versailles, Indiana. Max is back. Ryder grabbing the whole shot in this one. And Todd, you might recall, 42 years old, a former pro rider, riding in the vet class and still one of the top dogs out there. Senior AB 38 plus class, John Glotta, Aaron Delancey, Leroy Shook, Jeffrey Flynn, Kirk Cassell, Bradley Holder, Brian Foltz, Arthur Blystone, and Jason Smith ready to roll in a matter of 10 seconds. Green flag up on this one as the machines race toward turn number one. We turn our attention now out of the senior AB to the college B class. And we got Tyler McDaniel, Cole Smith, Spencer Modlin, Brandon Wiles, Colton Imhausen, Matt Thomas, Travis Margwa, Eric Hollifield, Tristan Spear, Ben Birds, Tristan Ralph, J.D. Brown, David Soder, Brad Pearson, Tyler Welch, Brandon Eichert, Braden Schick, Corey Silverthorne, Noah Landis, Roger Norman, Anthony Barnes, and Jeremy Hill in 10 seconds. Oh, that's where that black penalty flag could come into hand. It looked like we might have had a little early start off of that one. And we go to the Junior B 22 plus class. Didn't catch that number, but officials have got it taken care of. Justin Paul, Jesse Kelly in the Junior B 22 plus class, along with Keegan Serber, Alan Blavos, Shane Smith, Chad Ramsey, Kenneth Kelly, Derek Cox, Simon Bissell, Brent Ertl, Brian Toney, and Zachary Hobbs ready to roll here in the Junior B 22 plus class in a matter of only 10 seconds. And they're off as the green flag waves once more into that tricky off-camber first turn region now. Oh my, a big change up there in that first turn. That's what we were talking about. Saw it as the 499 actually threads some needles there and takes over the early lead in this one. That is Simon Bissell out of Lewiston, New York. Simon's going to probably be the man to beat in this particular division this year. Vet B 30 plus class coming up next. Todd Muscala, the Marlboro Man, along with Michael Supertrap, Sam Lamp, Jeff Wagner, Paul McCord, Nathan Yates, Mark Walthern, and more in 10 seconds. Jason Adams, Michael Shelley, Travis Foltz, Ryan Edmondson, Jeremy Gouchard, Jason Cox, Kevin Wright, Mark Batson, Nathan Wallace, Daniel Webb, Philip Thayer, and Samuel Fusion. Now off and rolling as just under 200 more riders are tackling the terrain of this Indiana Limestone GNCC. And what a spectacular day, a great start to a great race, great weather, and who knows what's in store and on tap for us from the racing end of things. It's going to be exciting. We'll roll with more from GNCC Live here from Indiana coming up right after this.
GNCC Racing is a cross-country style motorsport race featuring either ATVs or motorcycles. Depending on the event schedule, 6 to 7 races featuring riders as young as 4 and as old as 60 plus will race at any given event. GNCC racers come from all 50 states as well as numerous countries all around the world. The race starts as a dead engine start, with each rider lined up on the row of his or her class. Each row starts on the wave of the official's green flag and the race is on. Race arrow signs designate the race course, and with some exceptions, riders must stay within 25 feet of the race.
All right, welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. I'm Jen Kenyon, joined here by Fred Andrews. Fred, it's nice to have you back here in Springville, Indiana. We're round 5 of the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series.
The Limestone 100.
The Limestone 100, you are right.
And look at that track, Jen. Look at the nice woods. The green foliage is really starting to come up. Looks like a beautiful day to be on a quad.
Yeah, you know, we're here. It's sunny. It's nearly 80 degrees here in Indiana. It's kind of a nice welcome change for us GNCC folks. If you're here at the event and you've been at the first 4 rounds, you know that the weather has been a little wishy-washy. We've had some good weather. We've had some not so great weather, so it's extra bonus here to have this nice sunny weather. I know that we had some rain here earlier in the week, but it was a very welcomed rain because, as you can see, the stuff, it does look a little bit dry out there.
Yeah, you know, like you said, Jen, it's real different to have the sun shine, and we're all thankful. You know, we waited all year for this to happen, to put our winter clothes away. And as you can see on the track right now, these guys are kicking up a little bit of dust, but thankfully we got some rain earlier in the week to, you know, help keep a little bit of that down. But, man, the track looks like it's really nice out there.
Yeah, so we did see Chris Bithell, the number 4. He got off to the whole shot here in the XC1 Pro class. I know that the rest of the guys were real close behind him. If you're watching here on RacerTV.com, we always see on the first lap those guys are nose to tail coming through. The number 17 of Fred Marley actually got the XC2 whole shot, so we should see those guys checking in here in the screen in front of us, and just, I think that may be them right there.
Yeah, you know, it looks like this track's got a lot of different terrain to it. You know, nice off-camber sections where those guys on the quads are going. You got some hills, and you can see all the logs are laying down in the woods, so you know they got to be going across them somewhere out there. So it looks like they're going to have a fun day.
Yeah, from talking with the morning riders this morning, it sounds like this track is a lot tighter than what we've seen in the past. I know Barry Hawk, when he talked in his track description, we do have a lot of woods here. There's a lot of things to choose from. We're at the Lawrence County Recreational Park. It's a riding park. They have other events held here throughout the year. So there are definitely a lot of trails to choose from, a lot of woods, a lot of terrain in general. But it sounds like things are a little tighter than we've been used to seeing here for the ATVs.
Yeah, you know, maybe on the week that we had off, Barry came out here a little bit early, and Barry does a great job at setting up the track. You know, he's an actual ex-ATV champion and motorcycle champion, so he knows what we like to ride, and he goes out there in the woods, Jen, and spends a lot of time and makes us the best track he can. And like you said, from the pictures here, it looks like he's done a really nice job.
Yeah, you know, we actually have a track description set up with Barry Hawk, so let's go over to him and we'll see what we got going on here today.
Hello everyone, we're here in Indiana. It's a beautiful weekend out for racing. We've got a 10-mile track laid out for everyone. A little shorter than the last event in South Carolina, but overall I think the event, this track should turn out a little slower pace than it did at South Carolina. When they take off the start here, they're actually going to start right behind the finish line. They're going to bypass the finish line off of the start, so that's a little bit different for the guys. Once they get past the finish out towards the 1 mile marker, we got a little mud hole out there at the 1. I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. But at the 1.5, we have a pretty steep downhill and another hill climb at the bottom of that. When they get to the bottom, they're going to have to climb that hill. There's quite a few lines there, so it should be good for the guys, but it could be another good passing spot for the guys. There, head out towards the 2 mile marker where the pro pits are. Once they exit the pro pits, they're going to head out towards the another long downhill. It's not very steep, but it's just a long gradual downhill. It's going to lead them out towards the 3 mile marker past a checkpoint. After they get past that checkpoint, we got a nice tight new section for the guys. It's going to lead them, once they get to the end of that, it's going to lead them towards the 4 mile marker. Right after the 4 mile marker, we have a spot that is really slow technical section. I think the guys, we're going to have some cameras out there. It should be really good for TV, and it should be really good, nice technical spot for the guys. Slow them down, first gear, little mud hole, little ditch crossing. So once they get through there, head out towards the 5 to the 6. And when they get back to that 6, they're actually going to be back in that same area where the camera spot is at the 4. That'll be at the 6 when they get back there. There's another slower technical spot. Nice open area for the guys. Should be really good for the film crew. Once they get past there, out towards the 7-mile marker to the 7.5, they're actually going to be just inside the woods by the pro pit. So I think we're going to have another film spot there. Should be really interesting. When they get to the end of that film spot, there's a checkpoint. They're going to drop down a long rocky downhill. It's going to lead them into another really slow technical section, bunch of dips and creeks and little small hill climbs. So once they get through there, back towards the 9-mile marker to the, there's an uphill there, and we got another spot laid out in there. There's a bunch of ups and downs and some small hill climbs with some rocks in it. So again, that's another spot that I think should be really interesting for the guys. They should really enjoy that. Once they get through that section, it's going to lead them back around to the start line, and then right immediately after the start, go into the finish line. So again, it's a little shorter track than South Carolina, but overall the riders should enjoy it and have fun. Hopefully everybody can walk away here with a smile on their face.
Thanks, Barry, for that awesome track description. Fred, as we can see, everything that we thought Barry was doing out there, he did out there. I mean, they utilized the rain that kept the dust down a little bit. There's a lot of rocky, hilly, tight sections in there. I think these guys are going to be in for a good day. Yeah,
you know, Barry puts things in there that actually challenge everybody. You know, something that'll be fun and challenging, and it'd be a fun race for him. And like I said, you know, Barry's been doing this for a long time, so he's a great asset to have. And looks like here comes the leaders now. Looks like Bithel's still leading. Maybe that's McGill there in second. And they're, you know, they're going through them deep leaves right now. See that big rocket rolled up there, Jen? You got to go slow on this first lap. You know, you can't win the race on the first lap. You can only lose it because you never know what's underneath all those leaves out there. And as you can tell by that big rock, and here comes some more.
Yeah, so we're still waiting for our number 1, Chris Borch, to check in. It looks like, you know, Bithel, McGill, and Fowler, our top 3 runners. And then there's quite a bit of a gap. But as you can see, we've got a GNCC course marshal there, Sam Shaver, owner, part of the owner family of Crawfordsville, Indiana's Ironman. There's Borich right there.
Whoa.
And maybe Kevin Yoho and a couple other guys. But what I was going to say is we see some course marshals out there, and that might indicate that there was some confusion. Those guys they're making sure that on this first lap that the guys know exactly where to go. That way they don't get lost, and that lead pack can lead the rest of the pack into the right direction.
Yeah, right. And you know that they're out there to make sure everybody goes the right way because we don't want any confusion or anybody saying somebody went the wrong direction or went here or there. So we've got a lot of officials out there watching for everything, you know, too. So if somebody gets stuck or somebody's hurt, you know, it's nice to have a course official out there to radio back and get help for you.
Yeah, you know, if you see those guys out there and you're not racing, you should give them a pat on the back or at least a thumbs up and say, hey, thanks for all you do, because I know those guys are out there.
Yeah, they got long days. They start out there first thing in the morning. They don't come in till it's over.
Yeah, that's for sure. So it looks like there's quite a bit of gap. I didn't see any of the XC2 Pro-Am guys come through just yet. Something out there is separating this group, and I just don't know what it is yet.
You know, I don't know if it's maybe the track that Barry's laid out is a little bit tighter, and it tends to get people bunched up a little bit more. Where the faster ones, you can have a tendency to pass slower guys and catch the lead pack. So maybe the slower track that he's laid out, or maybe some of the off-cameras where these guys are just really going slow to make sure they can get through them good.
Yeah, so there it looks like maybe Fred Marley, our first place in the XC2 Pro-Am. We had a second place guy come through, but I couldn't quite tell who it was. We do have some nice Can-Am signage out there in the woods, looking great.
Yeah, you know, like you said, it's a nice tube. Make sure the guys know which way they're going. Keep the banner there to their left all the way around that tree and follow your arrows.
And there's the 21 of Randy Hamilton, number 3 looks like in the XC2 Pro-Am division. We're still waiting for these guys to check through the finish. That way we can get a little bit of an idea of where the running order is. Here's a whole slew of XC2 guys coming on through. That class is always big. There's usually 20, 25 plus riders in that class, so it's always good to see a healthy XC2 Pro-Am division. A lot of those guys are, you know,
they're the future,
prepping themselves for the pro ranks.
You can see the track's starting to get a little bit burned in now too. You know, the leaves are getting out of the way, and these guys are actually following the trail from the guys ahead of them, so they can go a little bit faster. Maybe they will be able to catch up a little bit to the front runners now.
You know, I have to give a shout out to Donnie Ackerman. He just cruised on through in that silver car right there. If you see Donnie, he's a XC1 Pro ATV rider from the state of Indiana here. He's a hometown guy, or home state guy, and he's here hanging out watching some racing today, so we definitely want to welcome him back to GNCC. We sure do miss him on the XC1 Pro class, but it's always cool to see those guys hanging out and having some fun.
Yeah, you know, it's not the same coming and watching, but once you get this in your blood, you know, you gotta come see your friends and say hi, and you know, you're still your family's still here, even though you're not here. You know, you can miss a few races and come back, and it's always good to see people coming back and enjoying what they always, you know, and they relive what they did when they were racing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Fred. You're a prime example. You're a former racer. You did this
1993
for a long time.
I started coming, and I'm still here.
Exactly. So it's kind of, once it's in your blood, you never want to leave the GNCCs.
And now with the TV, like, you know, the guys at home can watch it and see what's going on. It's come a long way since it's first started.
Yeah, that's for sure. I know these guys have had quite the challenge getting these cameras out here in the woods. It looks like we got a pretty nice shot out there.
Yeah, you know, it shows a different terrain. Look at those rocks that are stuck in the ground. The quads are bouncing all over the place. Then you turn and you got the leaves right there on top of just nice dirt, and you got some tree roots. And this track looks like it's got a little bit of everything, Jen.
All right, guys, if you're just joining us, we're here at the Limestone 100, the Dunlop Limestone 100, round 5 of the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series. You're seeing some action here of the afternoon pro race. We did see the leaders come by. We did, our top 3 runners were, you know, Chris Bithell, Adam McGill, and Walker Fowler. We had a whole slew of guys just behind them, so stay tuned with us. We're going to head over to a commercial, and we'll be right back here on RacerTV.com.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. Rodney Tomlin now joining along with Fred Andrews and Jen Kenyon making her way out and about, and she's going to give us some updates on what's going on as we check in. Lap number 1, 23, almost 24 minutes now into this race, and Fred Andrews, a great day. We've watched this one go along. You know, already these riders are continuing to jockey for position. Chris Bithell getting off to a stellar start out there, and, you know, a very tricky start. We talked about that out on the start a few moments ago. Off camber, downhill, then uphill. I mean, it's kind of one of those, it's the most unique start. And, you know, South Carolina has a unique start itself, but this one, there's nothing like it, I think, in GNCC.
No, Ronnie, because when you're going into that start, you're going downhill, and then when you got to turn, you got to go uphill, and then on the quads, they're wanting to high side or flip over to the right. So you really gotta be careful in there not to go in there too hard and, you know, overshoot the turn. And like you said, it's kind of neat with the uphill, and then you go up to the top and you got to come down again. So the start's really neat here.
So with Bithell grabbing an early lead, that's going to put him in a pretty good position. Now, Chris has been in great position so far this year. He's only had a couple of stellar finishes, I think, a couple of podiums, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he probably didn't score in at least 1, maybe 2 of the races. So in reality, when Chris Bithell is on, he's on, and whenever it isn't, things aren't going well for him. So if things are starting out this strong for him, he could very well be a man to reckon with, and especially coming off of the last round in South Carolina. I was talking with him earlier this morning in the pre-race interviews, and he was telling me about how he's still frustrated with the penalty that was imposed there 2 weeks ago on the false start, the 30 seconds and then a 15-second penalty imposed because of him not actually making the stop and staying there. So a total of 45 seconds they held him up there. He seems to be frustrated about it, but at the same time, we as race fans, I think we got to see some pretty cool things on that race day. And with him still having that fire lit under his tail, Fred, it looks like he's just basically picking up where he left off there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you know, that's what I was going to say also, Rodney. Last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, he had such a great race coming from behind, and that fire is still burning, and now he has to start, so we just going to have to wait and see if that fire is still carried over into this weekend, if he's still going to, you know, have that drive in him to be out front and to win this race.
And, of course, you got to take into consideration Walker Fowler. He made a huge statement here last year whenever he took that win. Got off to an early lead, basically checked out from the rest of the field. It was Walker Fowler all day long, it seemed like. And that was where the roughness started for Chris Borich. He'd been on a 5-race win streak. This was round 6 last season. And he won the first 5 rounds. He'd also won the previous year's season concluding race at, I believe it was at Loretta Lynn's, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, he had 6 race wins coming in to this race last year whenever he kind of hit that stumble. But the one thing about it is Chris Borich's stumble has not
taken him off the podium in the last 2 years, I don't think. It's kind of crazy how a stumble for him has really, you know, a second place really seems to be out of character for him, and it's a huge ordeal, it seems like.
Yeah, you know, last 2 weeks ago it was Walker Fowler the whole race. You know, we thought, man, Walker's got this. He's got it in the lead. He's comfortable, and Chris Borge was just right behind him. And, you know, last lap we thought it was all Walker Fowler, and then, you know, Chris Borge did as usual and passed him up and came around for the win.
And here's the interesting thing about that. When Chris Borge did that last week, he'd gotten into the lead and got into some trouble and actually went down and I think stalled the bike out and had some trouble getting restarted. Anyway, he was down some 30 seconds or so, and to hear him tell the story, I mean, it's an amazing feat. He said he literally rode, and we've heard some of the other guys say it on the bikes and in motocross and supercross and even in the GNCC with Caleb and Charlie and those guys sometimes. They'll talk about riding out of their comfort zone. Never have I heard Chris Borge mention I rode out of my comfort zone to make up that gap and actually come away with the win there just 2 weeks ago. So pretty impressive and stellar performance by him. And I know he's got last year's loss here kind of looming in the background, and I think it's not necessarily a thing that's going to hamper his efforts. It's going to fuel his efforts, I think. So, I mean, there's a lot of folks with some things riding on the line here today as far as this Limestone GNCC is concerned.
Yeah, you know, it'd be interesting to see how close Chris actually gets to the front, because he was a little bit ways back when we saw him on the camera there, where he had a bad start or got hung up in some of the new sections that Barry put in. But, you know, he's not one guy you can never count him out, and it looks like the leaders might be coming towards the finish line here. I see some guys going through the woods there, Rodney.
28.5 minutes into this race now, Fred Andrews, and still not, I haven't seen who our actual race leader is out there, of course, and I'm sure it has changed many times. That's the way it appears to do and seems to always do whenever we are there on this first lap. A lot of position jockeying, and thank you very much, Rick Checo. And right now, our
looks
first
like
glimpse of leaders. Yeah, Bithell is still out front. You know, here's an amazing thing. He's kind of by himself right now. Generally, we see these guys on this first lap kind of freight training nose to tail. There's not a lot of separation, but I got to wonder if maybe this is an indication that maybe there's some dust out there that might be separating them out a little bit.
Yeah, Rodney, I don't think the dust is too bad yet. You know, it could have just been some of the new off-camera sections that Barry put in. Maybe, you know, some guys might have got hung up on or not. Or it could be Bithell, too. Bithell could be saying, you know, I'm here to make a statement. I got penalized last time and still got third, and I've got the lead right now, and I'm going to run as fast as I can and see how big of a lead I can get on the field.
So he's running and gunning out there right now. It's Walker Fowler holding on to the number 2 spot. He's 5 seconds back. Adam McGill checking in out of West Union, West Virginia on that McGill Mafia machine. And, of course, the 521 also brought to you by RacingPowersports.com and Pirate MX. McGill looking for a good ride. He's another one of those riders. He's either been on or he's been off as far as the 2014 campaign is concerned. And as we approach the halfway point of this season, it's time for these riders to start being a little more consistent, I think.
Yeah, notice it looks like Chris Borge came in the 4th place, and he's, what, Rodney, maybe 12 seconds behind him. So he's right there with him.
He sure is, and that's actually 12 seconds, almost 13 seconds behind McGill, and he's in 4th place. McGill is in 3rd. Then Fowler is another 5 seconds, actually another 7 seconds ahead, then another 5 seconds to Chris Bithell. So when you add it up, about 25 seconds is what separates the gap between 1st and 4th right now, and that's not a lot, especially whenever you hear the stories of Chris Borge from last week alone, whenever he really started pushing it. And this early in the race, I don't think any of these riders have really began to push it too much. Chris Bithell may be pushing it a little bit, trying to find a little bit of a comfort zone out there, but I don't think we're seeing a full-out push just yet.
No, you know, Rodney, like I said earlier, on the first lap, you kind of just sort the track out. You get to learn it. You get all the leaves out of the way. You look for all the debris that's hidden underneath, and you kind of just running and seeing and feeling where everybody's at, see who's on their game this day and who's not.
Wow. Rick Checo, Big Rec 4x4 Pro, making sure that we're quenched today with cold cock. Got to look at. And, of course, watching this unfold, Bryson Neal, the rookie, last year's XC2 Pro-Am champion, had a chance to talk with him, you know, and I'd talked to him, obviously, previous rounds, and each time that I'd talked to him, Bryson seemed to be coming into this one with, it's a learning attitude, I'm learning. And he kept talking about arm pump a lot. Well, he said that he's changed things up in the last 2 weeks. He said he's been spending a lot of time
previous to this at the gym, you know, doing a lot of bulking up and things like that, and he says that he thinks that that has lent itself to actually the arm pump situations that have been occurring. He says he feels now that he has stopped or slowed down that process and changed up his training process, that he feels a lot more confident and comfortable coming into today. And, you know, just the way he spoke this morning was a true indication that, wow, you know, this is a different kid, and it's amazing how much he's matured in only the last 2 weeks, especially, you know, the first 4 rounds, but the last 2 weeks, a whole lot of maturity has come on for Bryson Neal. He's currently running in the number 5 spot. He's 27.5 seconds behind Chris Boric right now, but he and another class rookie there, the 11 of Jay Shadron, is running only a half second behind him in the 7th place position. Jared McClure, fresh off the podium last week, and one of our top 3 points holders heading into this round. The number 10 machine running back in 8th place. Brent Sturdivant, 149 out of Montrose, West Virginia, is running in 9th. And Brian Wolf, whom I talked to, said, and showed me the hands, man, I guess he really had a tough way to go there in South Carolina a couple weeks ago. He got his thumb caught between the throttle and something on the handlebar, ripped his thumbnail completely off, and was in a lot of major pain. He showed me that in his hands. A lot of people, and he's not the only one. It's amazing to me, Fred, after 4 rounds of racing, the amount of people that were complaining and mentioning blisters after that race in South Carolina, people that hadn't really talked about blisters up until that point. It's kind of odd this late in the game, you would think.
Well, I think it's got to do with the track. You know, the first few tracks we had were kind of muddy and it was kind of slower, where the Big Buck was actually faster and it was already choppy and rough, and you know, it was a full-on as fast as you can go type of race where the dirt was good and all the conditions were perfect, so everybody was really going fast, and it just affected your hands. I mean, it happened with the motorcycle guys also. They also got blisters on their hands, and you know that these guys are in shape and their hands are strong because they've been riding, so it was just that track that day.
It's amazing how that unfolds sometimes, and different things like that transpire with, you know, traditionally we're used to seeing those blisters coming out of Florida, between Florida and Georgia, and a lot of problems, a lot of people struggling because of that. Now, I'm not expecting a lot of struggles out of it. A lot of people did say that their hands are still sore, and some of them look pretty chewed up, but it has been 2 weeks, so they've had some time to toughen up. Brian Wolf, he's toughened up quite a bit, and, you know, he said, it's time to get something going, man. He says, I haven't really done anything real the last 2 years, haven't been able to show a whole lot. He says, I just can't get things going. He says, I got to start making things happen. And, you know, it's a totally different atmosphere for Brian Wolf the last couple of years, not putting as much emphasis and pressure on himself as far as racing from an outside standpoint. But I'm beginning to wonder, after talking with Brian this morning, if maybe there might be more self-pressure there than what we even realize, even though he has kind of faded back into the woodwork somewhat purposely, I think, over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, you know, Rodney, sometimes riders put a lot more pressure on themselves than even what their sponsors or their help do, you know, because he knows he can do it, and he hasn't been doing it, and it's really probably starting to irritate him and eat at him that he hasn't been, so Brian's probably really trying harder to make things happen, which maybe could be, you know, working against him.
Well, checking in with the pro pits, they're coming through right now, and leaders already through, obviously, and we're already down. I believe that was the number 16 machine checking in there a moment ago. That was Landon Wolf. Wolf is all the way back in the number 15 spot overall. I think he's 14th overall. Taking a look at the top 20 overall right now, all of our top 10 through 8th place are all XC1 Pro riders. Our leader in the XC2 Pro-Am class is running 9th place overall, and that is Greensburg, Indiana's Kevin Cunningham. Cunningham on the 744. I think he might be a Spider Graphics sponsored rider, if I'm not mistaken, but that 22-year-old rider right here out of the Hoosier State is finding his legs in the home turf, so to speak, and it's amazing. You know, we see these guys and how strong they can run, but when they get close to home in their home turf like this, sometimes there's some extra spark, it seems like. Sometimes it really fires them up out there, Fred.
Yeah, Rodney, you know, it's like your friends and your family actually come out and watch you race, and like you said, it's your hometown and you're expected to do good, and it's just something inside of you that brings it out, that gives you that extra effort for that day to do your, you know, to do better than normal.
Fred Marley, also an Indiana boy out of Osgood, Indiana, grabbed the whole shot, picked himself up some extra bucks out there, is currently looking at 12th place overall, second in the Pro-Am division. Then we've got third place in that class is Randy Hamilton. He's 19th overall. Mark Christopherson up out of New York, and a big Wainoa rider out of Ridgeford, New York. He runs in 4th place of the XC2 Pro-Am. He has 20th place overall. Looking at some of the other in the XC2 Pro-Am class, 5th spot is Cole Richardson out of Edinburgh, PA, the Yamaha rider. That is the rider that the first 2 rounds was looking like a huge and super threat to the overall podium, as he was within striking distance and actually leading on an overall adjusted time on a couple of different occasions. But Richardson was actually, I think, running a solid top 4th place overall in the points chase in the early part of the year. But since then, the last couple of rounds have not treated that rider nearly as well, it doesn't appear. So he has had his struggles in trying to reclaim the greatness that we saw in the early part of the year, and he's right now running in the number 5 spot. Another rider that we've seen so many great glimpses of greatness out of is an Indiana boy, Petersburg, Marshall Goings, 997. A lot of hopes, a lot of expectations out of that rider. Not that he hasn't lived up to them, but I don't think that he's lived up completely to them. I think there's a lot more to see out of Goings in the future, that's for sure. Tommy Kuntz, who showed us a podium there at 3rd place in Florida earlier this season, the 47 running a couple different times in podium contention. I don't think he's been able to land it as of yet, but Kuntz is running a solid top 10 right now in 7th. We got Brody Livingood, the number 29, running in 8th spot. Stephen Michael Cunningham is running 9th place in the XC2 Pro-Am, and James Green, the 25, rounds out your top 10 XC2 Pro-Am class. Now, at the end of this first lap, we always like to, Fred, try to keep an eye on the top overall amateur. Our top amateurs, looks like we got a good battle out of a couple different classes here. Michael Marley, who got the whole shot, the younger brother of the Fred Marley, Junior A 22-plus class leader out of Good, Indiana. He's currently running 24th place overall. He is Junior A 22-plus class leader. The leader of the College A class, Blake Tornes, who has actually grabbed an overall top honor already once this year out of Waterford, Ohio, is running 25th place overall. If you look at elapsed time, there was only 1 second, 1.1 second difference in between those guys. So that top amateur is still way up in the air and up for grabs as we are early on in this one. Another rider that's not far off the pace there in the hunt for top amateur is Derek Pitzer, who is a 26th overall. He is 2nd in the College A class, 3rd in the College A class. Bryson Hops out of Greenfield, Ohio. Those guys all running within wow, if I'm not, see, Tornes and Pitzer, 3 seconds and another 2 seconds. So 5 seconds separate the top 3 in the College A class. So wow, I mean, that class is exciting. It's a battle for a top spot in the overall amateur along with Michael Marley right now. And I think the stage is setting here at the end of this particular this GNCC. And amazingly, you know, we did happen to speak with Michael Marley earlier today, Fred.
Oh, it feels amazing to be tied for 2nd in points and knowing I could come away with the points lead. Considering I'm a little bit older than these guys, but still, I mean, I guess that don't mean much, but pretty proud to be where I'm at.
things like that, you were stopping for flat tires and changing tires on occasion. You'd see guys coming in with the wheel, you know, the tires off the rims and things like that. Same thing with ATVs, you know, there'd be 2-3 tire changes sometimes on one quad because they would just blow out so many tires. But, you know, that part of the ball game has been taken out. And from your standpoint, man, I mean, how much has that changed the strategy of a pit stop nowadays?
Well, you know, the strategy now is just worried about your fuel. You know how far you can go. Like on the four-wheelers, probably the same as a motorcycle. The two-strokes cannot go as long as a four-stroke. So, you know, your pit strategy when you're out there is if you're with the leaders, I always like to pit with the leaders because that keeps you motivated and keep you going. If you stop before them and they go by, then you got to try to run them down. And it seems like you always do better when you're in a pack. You seem to get through the lap riders better, and it's just nice to stop with. If you're with the lead pack, that's when I like to stop. You know, and then too, the flat tire part's almost out of it. So really, it's almost a goggle, water, and a gas pit stop. You usually only pit one time, and the rest of it's up to you.
And it happens so quick. I mean, if you were to say you're practicing and you can say, what is the ideal pit stop time? I know that NASCAR has, you know, 4 tire changes and a full fuel stop and this, that, and the other, and X amount of seconds, 15 seconds.
8 seconds. 8 seconds we could get. Last year when we had Andrew DeLong riding for us, we'd get him in and out of the pit, full tank of gas, goggles, and drink in 8 seconds. All that in 8 seconds.
Wow, that is fast. And a second is pretty crucial because that is sometimes, I mean, that is where some of the passes have been made. I mean, sometimes guys go long on fuel stops and some guys go shorter on fuel stops. Now, just out of curiosity, I know that you guys have this fuel strategy figured out. Do you have to stop every race? Is it something that you have to do, or is I think
you have to stop. We don't have to. There's no rules. I don't believe that you have to, but the tanks aren't big enough to do that, so you do have to stop once, and everybody needs to stop once and get a fresh, you know, nice cool drink, and that gives you a little bit more oomph to get yourself going.
And it's
a
good time also for the rider to communicate with the mechanic, you know, of certain things, or the team to communicate with rider, you know, be watching for us at the X mile marker or whatever.
Right, you know, and even make a little minor adjustment on the bike or something. But usually when a rider stops, all he wants to do is just get back out on the track and get going forward.
Well, there go our leaders, Bithell, Walker, Fowler, Adam McGill. We just saw the top 3. There comes Chris Borch now. And Borch is still running some 10 or 12 seconds back, it looks like, in that number 4 position. He's caught sight of him, it looks like, but he doesn't seem to be riding with a lot of fever right now. That or those guys have really got that much of a great pace underway right now, Fred.
Yeah, Ron, it's early in the race, too. You know, we're only going on lap 2 right now, so Chris is not really in a panic mode. He knows those guys are ahead of him, and he knows all the other races he has been able to catch up to him, so he's just riding his own pace, I would believe, and just let the race come to him. He doesn't want to push anything. You know, as you can see, there's a lot of rocks out there. You don't want to bend a wheel or a rim or something.
So with 14 minutes of a near 30-minute race, we're probably somewhere, I would say, probably around the 5-6 mile marker. I'm not real sure where this particular shot is set up, but a nice open section of the woods we get to see. Now look at how big a gap we have back to the 4th place position, or 5th place position, Bryson Neal. Remember, we talked about it when they came around there a few moments ago. 30 seconds is what we were looking at, 27 and a half to be exact, but I think that's opened up quite a bit more since then, and it's amazing the level of intensity, though whenever it looks like they're just barely cruising along, they must be riding at a much more higher intense level than what we even anticipate right now.
Yeah, you know, as you can see, the track's starting to get burned in now, so their lap times are going to get a little faster. Plus, you know, they've been around it once, so they remember maybe this little line here is a little quicker than this line. So, and they're together in a pack. And when you're with a pack like that, you're carrying each other. You know, you're pushing the guy in front of you, the guy behind you is pushing you, so you tend to go a little faster than you are when you're by yourself.
I think we might have saw finally that 5th place ride starting to make his way in out there. Right now we are some 11 and a half minutes out, it looks like, from the end of lap number 2. 47 pushing 48 minutes now into this race. Chris Bithell, Walker Fowler, Adam McGill, Chris Borch, your top 4, and back a little further, Bryson Neal, Jay Shadron, Braden Henthorn in 7th, Jared McClure was 8th, Kevin Cunningham in 9th, and Brent Sturdivant in 10th. Now again, Kevin Cunningham is on time adjustment. He is the XC2 Pro-Am class leader, so he is not physically 9th. At least he wasn't whenever he came through last time. Who knows with the way things are unfolding out here right now. As we look back now, there is, I believe, Merritt, if I'm not mistaken, on that Suzuki machine. And as these riders get it all sorted out and we pick back up with our leaders here in just a few moments, we're going to take a quick break and be back with more of GNCC Live right here at RacerTV.com. And welcome back to the heart of Hoosier Country as we are in the shadows of the great Indiana State University just down the road in Bloomington, Indiana. And, of course, man, speaking of blooming, look at those beautiful flowers, beautiful spring day out here. And, of course, things are going well there in Indiana University, and they're going great here at the Lawrence County Recreation Park in just down the road in Springville, Indiana, as Rodney Tomlin along with Fred Andrews and, of course, own Jen Kenyon out and about and ready to give us the scoop on everything that's taking place here in the heart of the GNCC Racing Nation. We are at the Limestone 100 GNCC, and Fred Andrews, again, Chris Bithell getting off to a great start, due in about 7 minutes for lap number 2 complete. We had Bithell, Fowler, and McGill running 1, 2, and 3, virtually nose to tail, and then back about 12, 15 seconds or so was the number 1 and defending GNCC champion of Chris Borch, who doesn't seem to be pushing the envelope so much. None of the top 4 riders do at this point, but the thing is the massive gap that is starting to open up back to the number 5 spot between 4th and 5th. Really huge and monumental, I think, when we were watching that last shot about halfway through this second lap of racing. I think that has a lot to say for the speed and the intensity of what's going on up front. It also has, I think, a lot to say about the competitiveness amongst, if nothing else, those particular 4 riders.
Yeah, those 4 riders have got together, like you said, Rodney, and they've actually stretched their lead away from the pack. And, you know, they all know they're fast and they all know they can do good, and everyone wants to beat each other, and they're actually pushing each other forward. And it's really, really exciting to see that there's 4 of them, just not 2.
Right.
We know that those other guys can do it, and they're with them right now. And you know, I think the track's only going to get better as the day goes on. It looks like some of the leaves are getting pushed off out of the way. None of these guys are going to be able to maybe find some more lines. And I was surprised. I didn't see any water out there, Rodney.
No.
Looks like they're dry. You know, we're used to seeing mud and not knowing who's who and what's what.
Yeah, it's kind of a pleasant surprise. Yeah, there's no mud, even with the rain that we had on Thursday night. It set the stage for a great day. Bithell, Fowler, McGill, your top 3 right now with Borch back and forth. And, wow, now's a good time for you to start tweeting it out. Who is your podium predictions for this Dunlop 100 Limestone GNCC? It is, well, just simply tweet and hashtag GNCC Live when you do it, your top 3 overall, and it could be your chance to win $250 in great AMSOIL product. We will announce the winner of the drawing at the end of the show, and the winner will be chosen randomly. So we're not necessarily expecting you to know and get it right. We just want to know who you think it is, who you pulling for out there. So send them out. Once again, tweet about, hashtag that GNCC Live.
You know, Rodney, if these guys being this close at this point, this early in the game, if you can pick it now, man, you should be heading to Vegas.
Ain't that the truth? And, you know, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you could do this. I mean, it's almost like a Yahtzee there. You put them in a cup, shake them up, and throw them out, and who knows what's going to roll out on the table. And that's the beauty of this ATV class. And, you know, over the years, even with Chris Borch's domination in this class since Bill Balance, the end of his tenure and career, it's always been exciting. I think we always have that hope. We always have that dream that maybe somebody's going to have Chris's number and he's not going to pull out the Borch on the last lap. And we have started to see that come to pass where it's been a little more difficult. And it's created, I think, more exciting racing. And that's what this ATV is. It is truly exciting racing. And I think that even the two-wheel guys, and we maybe mentioned this before, we have such a large crowd on Saturdays. It's because a lot of the two-wheel guys, the motorcycle guys, are such huge fans of the ATV racing simply because of the competitiveness of it. Not only in the XC1, but the XC2 Pro-Am. The College A class throws it out. And then, of course, there's always that elusive and crazy battle with the overall amateurs. I mean, there's so many elements to this 2-hour race packed in here on a Saturday afternoon that I think a lot of folks are still very enjoyable and entertaining to watch, and folks that probably would never ever dream of throwing their leg over an ATV are out there cheering those guys on with all their heart and soul.
You know, Rodney, too, and I think it's got to do with the racer. You know, racers like watching other racers because they know how hard they put into it, and they know that Chris Bithell and Borch and all these guys have put their heart and soul into it, and they're out there watching them, supporting them.
They are, and you know, it's really neat because the respect that is shown there, and you often don't see it happen where a rider will switch from 2 wheels to 4 wheels. A lot of times we see it from 4 to 2, and any guys that have and done it successfully from 2 to 4 have been amazing on the 4 wheels when they've done it. So anybody that has ever tried it, they definitely, I think, gain a major respect for an ATV racer, because you know it's not just riding. Riding an ATV is one thing, but when you go to racing an ATV, it's a whole different world. And we're talking everything from the sport ATVs to the 4x4 utility ATVs that we see racing there at the 10 o'clock hour.
Yeah, Rodney, I tried it one year. Kim Coonley, who used to do the 4-wheel races with us, you know, I tried it with him at a local race. I said, you know, let me try one of your quads once. So I went out there on that thing, and that thing beat the tar out of me. I'm used to looking for lines and nicking places here and there and finding the smooth line, but these quad guys, they don't have a smooth line. They're going where it's at, and these guys are tough.
They are. And you know, here's another unique thing about GNCC. The ATVs racing on a Saturday and the motorcycles on Sunday. That means that a lot of the same course is used for motorcycles and ATVs, and a lot of that track is beat down and beat in. Tell me, I mean, I've heard so many different variations of whether or not it's good, whether you like it. I mean, you've got, I guess, a lot of it probably hinge on where you're at.
Yeah, it depends on the track, Ronnie. Sometimes it actually is not a good thing when the bikes go out behind them, but other times it doesn't really matter. Actually, sometimes they make it better. You know, it's easier for a bike to adjust to the 2 ruts than it would be for a quad to adjust to all our ruts for sure. So, you know, we've been doing it forever, and I think it'd be great if the bikes went first on Saturdays and I could be home on Sunday and have fun, but it's never going to happen.
Well, you're not going to do that. You got to do the TV show now, man. But we did do that a couple of years ago at Loretta's. Remember at the season finale, we switched it around. It was actually neat and interesting.
And all the motorcycle guys loved it. You know, we've been going to Loretta's probably for 15, 16 years, and they actually said, this is a totally different race at Loretta's that we've never seen, because the quads weren't out there first running into knocking trees out of the way and making lines. You know, this is almost like a single file track, where usually, you know, it's a 2-wide track the whole way. So the bikes really liked it a lot, and you know, it'd be nice for us to do more.
And speaking of 2-wide track, as we check in with the finish here, our leaders are in and through. We got Bithell, Fowler, McGill, and Borich. The gap, 4 seconds between first and second, a second back to the third place position, and less than a second, 0.8 of a second, back to Chris Borich now, who has latched on to that front group. So it's a 4-way train basically heading around the racetrack. Now we wait to see where 5th place is. 27.5 seconds down. A lap ago was Bryson Neal, Jay Shadron behind him, and Braden Henthorn back behind him in the number 7 spot. We'll see whether or not that has changed and how much of a gap we do start to see open up now as we approach the 1-hour mark in this race. So I would assume that we are looking at a 4-lap race, 2 laps down, 2 laps to go, and
you know, it sure looks like the lead pack has really hooked up and put some time on 5th place. I mean, and we should have be interested to see the time where they're at right now.
Well, look at pit row right now. It looks like that we may be seeing some pitting coming up here pretty soon. It's only about 2 miles, Fred, from where the finish line is located to the pits itself. So with this being a 4-lap race at the halfway point, I'm assuming, I haven't seen the 2-lap board, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is, just looking at timing and everything. This is when everybody's going to stop. They're basically, we're looking at maybe a quick goggle change, drink of water, and gas. There shouldn't be any other issue.
No, that's all. I'd say this lead pack, they're all going to stop together. I wouldn't look for anybody to go to pit out of sync to try to make up some time, because as a pack, you're always going to run the guy down. They're just going to come in, get a quick splash of gas, get some new goggles, get a drink, and a little pat on the back and saying, man, you're doing good, let's keep it going. You know, it's always nice to hear your pit crew give you a little bit of, you know, you're doing good, to stay with the pack and go with it.
Yeah, and you know, that's a good time, a good break in the monotony for those guys too. It gives them a chance to just change their focus for just a moment, I think, and that's probably a good thing. It looks like we may have some changes going on back here. Let's check in. Jared McClure has now clawed his way up into the number 5 spot aboard the number 10. McClure, the sneaky snake, 1 minute and 39 seconds now down behind the 4th place ride, and that's just behind the podium position finish. So McClure is riding a good, strong race today, and it looks like if maybe he would have gotten the start out there, he might be a contender for a possible overall podium position. But the way things are looking right now, I'm not going to throw him into my guessing game, but at the same time, I'm not going to take him completely out of the realm of possibility. The rookie, Jay Shadron, running 6th place now. Bryson Neal dropping to the number 7 spot after that last lap. He is, well, we see 31 seconds between McClure and Shadron, 10 seconds back to Bryson Neal. Brian Wolf now has moved into the number 8 spot, and looks like he may be ready to take this young rookie of Neal to school, as he was less than a second behind him, Fred Andrews, whenever they came through. And I told you that that Brian Wolf was kind of on a little personal mission of his own out there to try and to gauge himself and push himself a little bit better and a little bit farther than what we've seen, and hopefully get away from those mechanical issues and breakdowns that have really kept him probably from aspiring as much as what he possibly could here in 2014. But at the same time, the young Bryson Neal, this might be a good time for both these guys to have a little bit of fun.
Here's our leaders pitting right now, Rodney. You can see all 4 of them are pitting right now.
There they are.
And now it's a race for the pit crew. This is where the pit crew gets fired up, man. They want to get you in and get you out of there.
There went Bithell. Bithell made his way out, so he's first. They're second. And looked like McGill might have came out of that one in second, and Fowler in the number 3 spot with Boric back in the number 4 spot still. I'm not sure, but when they came in, I believe that Walker was still running second, but it looked like to me, Fred, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like that Adam actually came out just ahead of Walker on that exchange there.
Yeah, that was what I saw too, Rodney, I believe. Something else too, when your rider comes in like that, you can always see what they got left for those next 2 laps. If they come in and they're excited, like, go, I want to go get in there, or if they come in, they don't say anything, you can look at them and see, man, I think he's tired. But,
right.
Those guys all right there, I think they're all in great shape, and they really, really, really want to get back out there on the track, and they were just on the gas, so it's going to be an exciting race here at these last 2 laps. You never know what's going to happen, and that's GNCC racing, and I'm excited.
I am too. That right there, to see those guys that tight at this stage in the game, man, I mean, it's only going to get better here over the course of the next lap and a half or so of racing that we've got laid out before us here. Says lap 3. I will tell you the first lap was kind of a half lap, if you will, and we are now, we're on lap 3, and we have 2 laps complete. So right now our top 10 looking like this. We told you Bithell, Fowler, McGill, Boric. They were all in the pits there a moment ago, a minute and 40 seconds back. McClure, Shadron, Neal, Wolf in 8th, Braden Hinthorn in 9th, and Kevin Cunningham, the XC2 Pro-Am class leader, still running a solid top 10 overall in 10th place, and currently holding on to the lead in that XC2 Pro-Am class by now 40 seconds over the young Marshall Goings, who really found some speed out there and made up some time, it looks like. Goings, like we said, there's 40 seconds in between him. He's 16th overall, but man, what a confidence boost this could be for this young man.
Yeah, a track like this today, anything can happen out there, and the confidence is the whole thing, Rodney. You got confidence, it can carry you anywhere you want to go.
And right now we see it carrying Kevin Cunningham with a great lead there. Also, I believe Jen Kenyon is down in the pro pits right now, where she's keeping an eye on what just transpired and took place down there, and I'm sure she's got some juice on some other great things. Jen, what's going on?
Yeah, Rodney, I couldn't help but notice when Chris Boric came through here. Chris Boric, he was actually shaking his arm, so it seems like he might actually have a little bit of arm pump, which, talking with his pit crew, it doesn't seem like that typically happens to Chris Boric. So we're thinking maybe he had a little too much to eat over the Easter break or something, because something just seems a little bit off with him here this early in the race.
Could be those extra chocolate bunnies. I know how he feels. That is non-typical for Chris Boric. And, I gotta wonder if, maybe he's starting to see maybe deja vu from last year. Remember when Walker got out and stretched that lead out early on last year, he had his struggles to try to keep Walker in sight and to keep up with him. Today, in the early part of the race, at least, leading up to the end of lap number 2, he was having to push himself to try to keep that pace and stay in with that too. You got to wonder if maybe he was starting to think, oh man, is this going to be the same thing as last year? And he gets into his own mind, starts to tense up, and that may be where the arm pump came from. I wouldn't necessarily expect that to be that because of who it is, but then again, each day is different as we roll into these race days.
Yeah, Rodney, like you said, every day is different. He could be a little bit tight right now. Comes in, you get some gas, get some water, shake your arms free. You kind of shake it out, and he's got 2 laps to go. I'm sure he's not panicking at all right now.
And another thing too, it might be something that we might have just caught it this time. It might be something that
he does all the time.
Yeah, he goes through, and this might just be the time where we just actually happen to catch him trying to get the blood flowing into those arms and things. So rather interesting perspective, no doubt about it, and it does bring up a lot of question and a lot of wonder. 2 laps down, and let's run down at the halfway point. We'll take a look at this midway report coming up here in just a couple of moments, and that'll be, of course, brought to you by your friends at Parts Unlimited. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a quick break and return in just a couple of moments as the Building legends, that's what AMSOIL is all about, and of course they are a legend themselves, being first in synthetics, and you too can be a part of the Building Legend sweepstakes and win an EBR 1190 RX motorcycle. Now through November 10th, 2014, qualified contestants can enter to win their own 2014 EBR 1190 RX courtesy of AMSOIL. The official drawing will take place December 1st, and people can register to win the EBR 1190 RX at AMSOILRacing.com/Building Legends. They're on the AMSOIL Facebook page and on site at many locations, including Monster Energy Supercross, AMSOIL Arena Cross, Loretta Lynn's Amateur National, Sturgis Rally, Lacona Rally, Biketoberfest, Lone Star Rally, of course, ATV Motocross, the Torque Series, and right here at the GNCC. Welcome back, everyone, here to Springville, Indiana, the heart of Hoosier country, and our first of 2 stops in the great state of Indiana as far as the GNCC Championship is concerned, and here at the Lawrence County Recreational Facility and Park. Man, I tell you, Fred, this is a great facility. It's several hundred acres, obviously, of riding. We've got a trail system here that is second to none. I don't think there's probably 1,000 miles worth of trails weaving in and out of everything here at the facility itself. But nonetheless, just a great place and a great place to have a race.
Yeah, and Barry's done a wonderful job, like we said earlier. He's gone through the woods. He's gotten off the beaten trail. He's got us in the nice woods with his new soil, and it's really a nice place to be. And parking's good, and the sun's out. I mean, what more could you want?
Couldn't want a whole lot more.
Nice cold drink.
A nice cold drink.
Where's the Hardy's people at this one?
No doubt about that. And right now we are taking a look at the number 16. That's Landon Wolf, Manchester, Maryland's own. He was running 14th place position there, only a second and a half or so behind Brent Sturdivant and Josh Merritt there just a few moments ago. But a pit stop for him. It looked like a rather extended pit stop. He was in there a little bit longer than what we seen the leaders in there for sure. And Fred, we talk about the great racing that takes place here this afternoon, but it's always preluded by the seeds of what built what we see here at GNCC Racing. We're talking about our youth division racing, and man, this morning here in Indiana, I don't think we could have asked for a more spectacular race than what we saw out there. Carter Kearns and well, he's been coming on strong the last few rounds, about 3 second-place finishes, or 2 second-place finishes, I know for sure, in a row. There's the leaders out here now. Not sure what mile marker we're at right now, but
looks like Borch just moved up to 3rd place.
Yeah.
He's around Walker Fowler.
Fowler, wonder what's going on there. Wonder if Fowler is thinking 5 1/4 mile marker. Wonder what he's thinking here as far as do I lay back and let Chris, maybe Walker might be using this as a schooling lesson for himself to try to see how Chris actually does make those passes and turn that thing on and light it up there on the last lap. This is a good vantage point for him to learn from, I think.
And he may be waiting too. If Chris is going to be moving somebody out of the way, he can just tuck right in behind him and just fall in through the traffic too.
Hey man, that's not a bad point either. This is a pretty neat section of the racetrack if you take a look at this one. See, there's a lot of rock in here. We talk about the limestone. You see a lot of limestone, a lot of hard rock in there.
A lot of ledges.
A lot of ledges. And, yeah, and I don't think we talk about the TV camera does not do it justice. That's kind of a downhill section, and we saw those little ledges. They actually jump down those little ledges into the lower section of the racetrack. Right there's a log. They jump across that log and jump down over some more rocks. I mean, it's rather technical through here, and a small mistake could be very detrimental to your race day, I think, in sections like this right here.
And when you see them coming down there, Rodney, their arms are always moving, the quad's always moving because they can't find that elusive smooth line, you know. So they're really, really getting a workout going through all them rocks. There's a lot of big rocks, and they got to make sure they don't get a big rock in the center of the quad and, you know, try to get yourself high centered up on that. And
see how
steep that was.
Yeah, it's how steep it is and how the quad
the bike's
actually
jockeying around underneath them the whole time. And
yeah, and you know, you think right there, you know, you'd be on the gas flying, but no, that is a lot more downhill than what you realize. And then you got the turn, an off-camber.
Hard right-hand turn off camber, and it's a nice little bit, just enough gradual of a hill there, and you got no speed to carry up it, so you're going to spin the tires a little bit. And as you can see, that other guy took a different line. So there are a few different lines out there.
Yeah, there's some alternate lines, and as we all know, 25 feet is a legitimate stray from that particular beaten path or the arrows that you were originally supposed to follow. And that's what I think makes it kind of interesting, because it amazes me how going through certain sections of the track, Fred, certain people can pick up on lines where other people would never see it there. You know, they miss it totally.
Yeah, it's almost like when you're riding, instead of looking at your front fender, you actually have to look out in front of you and actually look for things.
Out near the 7, we got, oh, man, Borch back up to the number. Oh, that is still only in 3rd place. I thought there for a second he was into the 2nd there for a second, but no, he's still running in the number 3 position, if I'm not mistaken now. Or is it? No, he.
I'm not sure, but did you see how Fowler went over there to the right? You know, they're not even following each other anymore. They're trying to make things happen by taking different lines. 6 mile markers in that neighborhood is where we're at. So Bithell, Fowler, McGill, Borich. There went Bithell. We saw Borich and Fowler battling. I don't know, and don't know if we saw McGill go through there. I didn't catch him anyway. I'm sure he might be in there, but I know that Chris Bithell coming into this one today, we talked about it. You know, he was amped up, charged up, and we did have a chance to have a word with him before the race got underway this weekend. Man, we're still waiting for 5th place to come.
It's kind of new, 3 years in, but it's just got a good flow to it, real good soil, little rocky, nothing severe at all, nothing like West Virginia or PA, anything like that, but it's just got a real good terrain, some roots, some creek crossings, creek bottoms. I just got off the track actually riding with the mountain bike, and I think it's going to be good. Barry's been out there putting in his time and cutting some new trail and running some old stuff, but it's got a real good flow. A lot of turns that are already bermed in a little bit from years of use, and I think it's just going to be a real good, fast day.
Well, you can see he comes in with an optimistic viewpoint on the facility and on the race day, so that's always a good point. You know, he brings up a pretty good point. He talks about the terrain being here, you know, a little rocky and things like that. And we hear that a lot, but the amazing thing about it is to me anyway, the drastic difference between here and just a few short ways from here in Crawfordsville, Indiana, where we have the Ironman GNCC, how much different it is here than it is there. I mean,
yeah, you know, Crawfordsville's got all that farm soil, and it's got the big uphills and downhills and a little bit of rock, but you know, this place here is mostly all rock and a little bit of soil, where you know, maybe it's because it's farm country, or just, you know, 20 miles can change a lot.
It can, it really can. And limestone, lots of that, as this area is noted for that. They have a lot of industry that is, well, they make their living, and they live on the limestone from around this area and have for many, many generations. And it's rich in tradition here in the heart of Hoosier country, no doubt. And what you wouldn't necessarily typically expect in Indiana, at least from what we've seen in the past here in Springville, it's a little bit different. As we pick back up with our leaders, we got the midway report we talked about there a little bit ago. We hadn't had a chance to get back to that, but we'll go ahead and take a look at that now, courtesy of our friends at Parts Unlimited. And also want to say thanks to Midstate Chevy, Midstate Chevrolet, as they are a proud supporter of our midway report as well. As we take a look at the overall, once again, Bithell, Fowler, McGill, Borch, McClure were your top 5, and then It was Kevin Cunningham rounding out the top 10, leader in the XC2 Pro-Am class. At the end of lap number 2, as far as the top amateur overall honors were concerned, it was College A new leader in that class. Derek Pitzer had gotten around Blake Tornes, who had dropped off to 3rd in the class and is only running 8 seconds out behind Pitzer, but all 3 of those guys still well within contention of top amateurs from that College A division. As we look next at the particular XC2 Pro-Am class itself, actually let's go XC1 first. Bithell, Fowler, McGill, Borge, McClure, and Jay Shadron 6th, Bryson Neal in 7th, Brian Wolf in 8th, Braden Hinthorn 9th, Kevin Yoho in 10th. XC2, Cunningham, Goings, and Fred Marley now in the number 3 spot, the 17 machine, grabbing that early hold shot with Cole Richardson now up to the number 4 spot. Looks like he's trying to go back to the basics out there in this one. The 564, Martin Christopherson, who was running a solid top 3 there in the early part of the race, now 5th. 6th place, Randy Hamilton, the 21, who is not above a win in this XC2 Pro-Am class. We got as well Stephen Michael Cunningham running 7th aboard the 726, the 25 James Green in 8th, Blake Kramer in 9th, and Brody Livingood rounds out your top 10. College A class, Derek Pitzer, who is your leader in the overall top amateur, followed by Cameron Bruce, only 1.7 seconds behind. Blake Tornes, 7 seconds behind him, is 3rd. Bryson Hops, 19 seconds back in 4th. George Covert, another minute and 18 seconds, so a big gap back to 5th. 6th place, Anthony Herring. Cole Shiplet runs 7th. Clint Graff in 8th. Kevin McCohen in 9th. And Levi Cohen rounds out your top 10 there in the College A. Junior A class, Michael Marley, the brother of Fred Marley. Michael actually grabbing the whole shot in this one and has led pretty much since the start of this race. He has a 47-second lead over Michael McAvoy, the 41 out of Chester, Virginia. Then or West Virginia, I guess that would be Wes Kinsley, who's a contender in this class, the 28 machine, running 3rd out of Morgantown, West Virginia. Doug Harden, the 788, another 3 seconds off the pace of Kinsley now in 4th. Now Kinsley's only 3 seconds out of 2nd place behind Marley, so good battle shaping up there. Doug Harden, another 3 seconds, a little more than 3 seconds behind him. Then we got Robbie Pecorari out of Aston, Pennsylvania, the 11.4 seconds back in 5th. 6th, the 305, Michael Fulton. 7th is Jordan Dotson. He's the 713. 8th, the 494, Cameron Prigden. Then we've got 9th in Nathan Hornacek, the 32, and 313, Matthew Lamberti rounds out your top 10. The Vet A class, Matt Pierce, the 939 out of Corning, Ohio, running in the number 1 spot with John Cunningham running 2nd, Richie Brown in 3rd, Wes Stone in 4th, and Todd Demery in the number 5 spot. That's rather interesting if you're a follower of the Vet A class. Todd Demery, who normally is a total dominator in this class, all the way back in 5th, and not only all the way back in 5th, but about 5 minutes in the process of that. As John Cunningham, your 2nd place ride, is a minute 42 seconds behind Matt Pierce right now. Richie Brown, another 30 seconds behind him. That is about 2 minutes and 15 seconds, another 45 seconds. That's 3 minutes that we see back to Wes Stone, and then another 58 seconds. So 4 minutes, not 5, but 4 minutes back to the number 5 spot of Todd Demery. Something big happened to that sick racing rider, that Demery Motorsports ride of Todd Demery. Nick Carnelli is running 6th, Bill Marstiller in 7th, Tom Jansky in 8th, Richard Palmer in 9th, and your Bet A 28 plus 10th place, Corey Blankiewicz. Senior AB class, John Glotta leading Leroy Shook by nearly 2.5 minutes now. Aaron Delancey running back to the number 3 spot. Arthur Limestone is 4th. Brian Foltz in 5th. Jeffrey Flynn runs 6th. Bradley Holder in 7th. Jason Smith in 8th. And Kirk Cassell rounds out 9th place Senior AB class. College B, as we look to the intermediate level riders now. J.D. Brown, 415 from Valley Head, West Virginia, running in the number 1 spot with a 13-second lead over Jeremy Hill. He's riding the 911 from Pacific, Missouri. Brandon Eichert out of Hickory, North Carolina, the 441, is running in the number 3 spot with Anthony Barnes from Popal, West Virginia. The 707 is 4th. 5th spot, 116, Spencer Modlin out of Omaha, Nebraska. Then in 6th spot, the 113, Cole Smith with Tyler McDaniel running 7th. Corey Silverthorne in 8th. Noah Landis in 9th. And Braden Schick rounds out your top 10. College B, 16 to 21-year-old class riders. Junior B, this is 22 years of age and older riders. Brent Ertl out of Osgood, Indiana, after 2 laps, nearly a 55-second lead over Simon Bissell, the class points leader and the one to beat in this class, riding the 499 out of Lewiston, New York. Bissell has about a 27-second lead over Alan Blavos, who is also a competitor and contender in this class. He rides the 361 out of Parkersburg, West Virginia. Oldenburg, Indiana, home to the 67 of Justin Paul, who runs 4th, and Brian Toney, the 629 out of Cannon, Georgia, in 5th. Then it's Chad Ramsey in 6th, Shane Smith in 7th. Derek Cox is 8th, Logan McMurdy in 9th, and Zachary Hobbs rounds out the top 10 in the Junior B 22-plus class. The Vet B 30-plus class, Jeremy Gouchard, the 479, leading the Marlboro man, who normally gets the whole shot in this class, by now 44 seconds. Mascala, the 57, leads Michael Supertrap, the points tabulator and overall tallier there, and does that for quadzone.com. 42 seconds back now behind Mascala. He's getting married next Saturday, by the way, and his lovely bride-to-be, Audra, is back home, I am sure, watching this broadcast right now. Michael Shelley is 4th place in the class. He's the 428 out of Frostburg, Maryland. Jeff Wagner out of Hillsboro, Indiana, the 363 in 5th. Jason Cox, the 568, runs 6th. Then we got Daniel Webb in 7th, Travis Foltz in 8th. 9th is Paul McCord, and 10th is Nathan Yawson. And Yates, here's Bithell, Fowler, Boric running 1, 2, and 3 now as we wrap up that Mid-State Chevy halfway report now. And I tell you, Fred, you see something there that's very interesting, it looks like.
Yeah, you know, it's surprising. You know, either maybe Boric was trying to get around Bithell and moved out of the way a little bit, and Walker went through, you know, and repassed him. But when they're 3 abreast like this, or nose to tail, I mean, it's anything can happen. When you're worried about passing the guy in front of you, maybe you make a mistake and a guy behind you could pass you both. So it's going to be exciting.
It is going to be very exciting. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on the battle that is waged basically since the drop of the green flag out there. And real quick, before I move on to this, and I got this thought in my mind, I want to. I had the opportunity to meet Audra, which is Michael Trapp, they're going to be married next Saturday near Columbus, up near the AMA, the American Motorcyclists Association. Anyway, this girl who rarely comes to a GNCC still believes in it enough that she asked me, and I don't know if Michael's aware of this or not, she asked me if I could come to her wedding, and before she walks down the aisle, if I would yell 10 seconds. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it, but I'm trying to rearrange my schedule. I think that would be pretty cool, and she thought it would be a nice surprise for him. So that's way to go, man. I mean, that's what's great about this GNCC Nation, man. I mean, it gets into you thick and through, there's no doubt about it. And back to the race at hand, though, Fred. I mean, wow. It's still amazing. You know, we see it every week, and for whatever reason, it does always seem to just blow our mind how intense the battles become, especially heading into the final moments and stages of this race. We're only a minute or so from the finish line itself, and seeing this third lap of racing wrapped up, and I believe we'll be heading into the white flag and final lap there. That's where it's going to get exciting. That's where we always see Chris Boric do the Boric, but will he be able to with the intensity and the madness that Chris Bithell is riding at today? And, you know, Chris Bithell has been one of those riders that it has been tougher for Chris Boric to do it on, but he has done it, and he did it earlier this year in Florida.
And now there's 3 of them too, Rodney. You know, Chris would have to get around 2 other guys, you know, and not saying Chris can't do it because he's done it 100 times, but I think as the year goes on, these guys are going to get stronger, and, I mean, they're trying as hard as they can, but they're going to try a little extra harder. You know, they're going to be tired of Chris beating them every time on the last lap.
Here, riders coming into it. Now, this looks like another slow section. Now, talk a little bit about this section. What's so difficult about this? Again, another little uphill, but no. And we are seeing.
You know, as you can see, Rodney, the rocks are starting to come out. So
yeah.
when the rocks come out, it actually picks the tires up, and they're getting a little bit more wheel spin. It looks like our leaders are coming this way to the finish right now, Rodney. It looks like Bithell, Walker, and Chris Boric right on his tail. So we're up for a barn burner here this last lap.
For sure. So we got that Yamaha sandwiched in between 2 Suzukis right now. We'll see whether or not they can flip-flop that around any here in this coming lap. But 28 minutes and 50 seconds, 28:49 for Walker Fowler last time, 28:43 for Adam McGill last time. Chris Boric was a 28:31 this time, 29:02 for Bithell, 28:58 for Walker Fowler. Chris Boric still checks in with the fastest time at 28:57, just under the 29-minute mark. I think we see there where Chris, well, a minute or better that, you know, he slowed down that lap. I think a lot of that is we've seen it on the mini camera shots. There's a lot of lap traffic out there. Some 200 and some riders out on the racetrack right now. is really starting to put a bit of an obstacle up out there, and it could change the face of this race, which we'll find out in a little less than 30 minutes as this Dunlop Limestone 100 GNCC rolls on here from the beautiful and excellently prepared Lawrence County Recreation Park. This is GNCC Live, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Twins have notoriously been very hard on crankshafts because that big long stroke with those 2 cylinders just flexes the crankshaft around. So we were seeing bearing issues. Research development people at AMSOIL could show us that it was likely an oil problem. And they were correct. That was the issue. Instead of having to redesign the engine, I just had to do a better quality oil.
Sometimes you come across something so different, you just have to stop and check it out. The Rocky Mountain ATV MC website has everything you need, from our huge selection of tires, ATV and UTV accessories, and OEM parts, to our online chat, customer reviews, and instructional videos. Our extensive inventory means most orders arrive in 3 days or less. Get low prices, quick shipping, and incredible customer service. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Find your flow with Maxxis Tires.
Welcome back to Springville, Indiana, and round number 5 of America's Premier Off-Road Racing Championship, the 2014 AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Maxxis and AMA National Championship. Rodney Tomlin, Fred Andrews, and Jen Kenyon out and about as we are into our final lap of racing here. And wow, what a great battle that we've seen shaping up so far today through these first 3 laps. Yeah, 3-way battle, 3 laps of racing. And you know, it all started, we started talking about that this morning, it all started this morning with our youth racing, believe it or not. When Brandon Frazier came into this one looking for 5 in a row, and it looked like that Brandon might be on track to do that. Then Brandon ran into some issues and some problems probably about midway or so through the race, and at that point Carter Kearns, who had been pushing hard and striving, was able to capitalize very quickly upon the issue and the problem. It was quickly fixed by Frazier's pits. They got him back out. He was hot behind Kearns. Kearns had it. They were 3 turns away from the very end of this race. Brandon Frazier was able to make the pass when Carter's engine let go, and he locked it up right there. They pushed him across the line. Carter got second, but Brandon Frazier pulls it out. 5 race wins in a row in that youth division.
Wow, Rodney, that's pretty impressive. That goes to show you, even if you are getting seconds every week, that you got to keep pushing and keep on doing what you're doing, because when an opportunity knocks, you got to be ready to take control. You do, and that's exactly what both of those boys did, and they did it. Obviously, Brandon did it, and of course, we had a chance to catch
Brandon,
up.
this is 5 in a row for you in the youth overall wins, but this one didn't come so easy to you.
Not really. Wow, it was a tough one. On the start, I really do not know what happened. I kicked it 3 times, and it just didn't start, and we had to push start it, so I was dead last on the start. And then I was on the second lap. I was behind Carter and the train and all them, and the 4th or 3rd lap, something like that, my tailpipe came off, and so it lost like a ton of horsepower. It lost half of its horsepower, and the track, I mean, the track was pretty cool. I mean, I liked it, and then the track was slick too, so yeah.
Sounds like a lot of crazy stuff happened out there. You guys had to make a couple pit stops and patch some things up, but you pulled it through. 5 in a row for you. That's got to feel pretty awesome.
Yeah, it feels great.
right, well, good job out there, bud.
Thank you.
And you saw how excited Fred Andrews, young Brandon Frazier was there. You saw the moment of joy. What we didn't see was the moment of agony that Carter Kearns was going through only a couple of turns before that. As happy as that young man was, Carter was that brokenhearted. Yeah, I mean, it was. But man, hats off in that youth division. I keep talking about it every week, and if you read quick fill on GNCCRacing.com, each week, man, I talk about that battle that's shaping up, and it's only just begun, believe it or not, man. It's pretty cool stuff for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure those two got a big future ahead of themselves, racing each other week in, week out as they, go through the ranks all the way up to the XC1 class.
Well, let's take a look at this last lap here. We're on the RacerX last lap, and a quick, I guess you could say, Can-Am GNCC Racing recap here of what took place as far as the racing is concerned here today. When it all kicked off today, $250 whole shot award from our friends at Twin Air, DeRisi Racing, and All Balls, Bearings, and Components, going to Chris Bithell, who lit it up coming off of that very challenging start. He threaded the needle coming through the first turn. I mean, literally, we saw so many riders going into that turn side by side, but he came out, nosed himself across the line for first, and then it was on from that point on. Walker Fowler and Adam McGill picking up in the second and third place positions, and unfortunately for Chris Borich, I believe he had his problems off the start there, having to struggle, and that opened him up there on that first lap. About fourth place and about 15 seconds behind the front three. As the race wore on, we saw that Chris Borich was finally able to start chipping away little by little at that lead, I think due in part as much as anything to the fact that these riders started running into lap traffic. Well, over the course of lap number 3, we saw lap traffic really become a major player in it, because it brought Chris Borich from a fourth place position about 10 to 15 seconds back all the way up into a third place position, battling for the number 2 spot as we roll into the final lap of racing. In the process, we ended up losing somewhere on lap number 3 Adam McGill in that battle for the top 3 positions, as he did basically a flip-flop with Chris Borich and drops now 26 seconds back into the number 4 position. Here's something really interesting, though. The young rookie, the College A rider from last year that, if I'm not mistaken, may have even gotten top amateur honors here last year. This young man running 5th place overall after 3 laps of racing complete. He's 2 minutes and 42 seconds back, nearly 3 minutes behind, but he is in 5th place. Here's something neat and interesting. Remember, we were talking about Brian Wolf, and he was ready to come out and make a statement and put things back together and put a solid ride in. Wolf is now up to the 6th place position. When we first started talking about him, he was just barely inside the top 10 in 10th place. Now up to the 6th place. Bryson Neal now running 7th as he drops off a spot. Braden Henthorne moves up to 8th from 9th. Now Marshall Goings in 9th spot. And Josh Merritt, the number 20 machine, now rounds out your top 10 in the overall, and in the 9th place in the XC1 class. Johnny Gallagher is up to 10th place in the XC1 Pro class, as Marshall Goings is your new leader in the XC2 Pro-Am division, 9th place overall. Cole Richardson, remember, we talked about the struggles this youngster was having in 5th place on lap number 1. Well, here in the final laps, he has moved into the number 2 position and only 2 seconds behind Marshall Goings. Tell me that this kid has not found the speed. It was almost as if he was winding up there on lap number 1, and he pulled the trigger and let her go there on lap 2 and 3, and has positioned himself quite nicely for a win in the XC2 Pro-Am class. And with that being said, Richardson is 11th place overall, Goings in 9th place overall, 2.6 seconds. Lap time, 29:55 for Marshall Goings, and that time around for Cole Richards, 29:30, one of the faster laps that we saw turned on the racetrack, period. Well, at least in that particular division. And we were just under the 29-minute mark in the XC1 Pro class, but Richardson, just an impressive ride up to 2nd now. As I look to 3rd in that class is Kevin Cunningham now, the 744, who was your leader in this class. Fred Marley has dropped now to the number 4 position, and our leaders now back out here near the 5-mile marker, and we got a new leader, it looks like, Fred.
Yeah, it looks like Chris Borich has done it again.
There it is. The Borch has come into play. He did it, looks like, in some lap traffic there, as now Chris Borch out front of Chris Bithell and Walker Fowler now in the number 3 spot. But I believe there's still plenty of room and opportunity for changes.
It's far from over right now. Now Chris Borch is in the seat. He's got to get all the lappers out of his way, so he's got a little extra pressure on him to get through the pack now. Which could be a hinder or could be, it could be good. But here comes Adam McGill a little bit behind him. Maybe he might catch up a little bit.
Yeah, this right here might be the opportunity. We see some of that lap traffic. It comes in waves on these guys, it seems like, for some reason. And, wow, it is definitely setting the stage, I think, for a spectacular finish. And watching McGill go there, again, it doesn't look like he's riding with a fever and a fire that we normally see McGill riding at. You got to wonder if maybe he might be having some physical issues, ailments, maybe the heat, maybe he's tired, maybe he has a mechanical problem that he's having to slow down for.
Or, he just lost sight of the leaders. Once you lose sight of them, it's hard to dig down deep and regroup yourself and catch back up. If he had a little bit of problem and the leaders got out away from me, he doesn't see them anymore. He's lost that little extra drive that kept him in that lead pack.
So, we hear people talk about that all the time. I guess that really is a true incentive. I mean, it does make sense that when you can see those riders that it gets that extra spark going, and it kind of, I guess, diverts your focus away from trying to race the track and just trying to catch up to that guy at that point.
Yeah, Rodney, sometimes you're giving it your all as fast as you can go, you think, and you never see him, you never see him. So then you kind of think, well, shoot, I'm never going to catch him, and you sit back on your heels and you just take what you get. Where if you can see them and you say, oh, I can see him, I'm catching a little more. I mean, it just keeps you motivated, and that's what you need to do to catch them guys.
Well, we're watching. I believe this is, if again I'm not mistaken, out near the 5-mile marker, and leaders due in about 17 minutes. Actually, it's probably more like a 3-mile marker. If I'm not real sure on that one. But anyway, what I was going to point out to and allude to is the fact that we have saw a lot of traffic, lap traffic coming through there. Not lap traffic now so much as it was when the leaders were behind them. It's kind of sporadic. We'll see a couple here and there, 1 or 2, and then like 4 or 5, at times. And the thing is, as this race wears on, it could get a little bit more intense as these leaders work their way through this final lap. And right now, as the top 3 are there, you pretty much, I think, Fred, got your top 3 podium. How do you pick them now?
It's time to tweet.
It's time to tweet. That's it. Hashtag it when you tweet your podium predictions to GNCC Live, and you could win $250 in AMSOIL products today from our friends at AMSOIL, the first in synthetics.
Well, and we think we know who the 3 are, but we just don't know which direction they're going to come in.
Yeah, that's it. Now, if you were going to guess right now, what would your guess be? I mean, just from seeing what you've seen in the past.
I'm going to go with Borch, Bithell, and Fowler. I'm going to just go 1, 2, 3. The way they're running right now, I think that's the way they're going to cross the finish line.
I think you're right. That's what I would have to say, and it's not just because of the way they're riding right now, but just of the fever and the intensity they come in at. Look at this. Fowler going for the alternate line, and he makes the pass. Fowler into the number 2 spot. We just saw it. He's going after Borch now. You saw Borch. He saw what happened.
And
now Borch.
Bithell tried a new line right there and got stuck on those logs, so it's pretty exciting here, Rodney. We got it all on film.
We got it all on film, and Smoking Joe Borch is over here in the studio watching now as we just watched Walker Fowler pass into the number 2 spot, the number 1 out front, and now we are that looks like intensity and fever. And you know what? I think that maybe Walker might be digging on that thrill from the win last year here, and if he can dig on that and remember that glory and that excitement from last year, that might be the energy that he needs here in this final lap to let him run with that number 1 of Chris Borch.
Well, actually, I think that little pass he put right there gave him that little extra energy to say, man, I'm on it, let's go, let's get by Chris. So man, it's far from over. As you can see, some of the bike pro guys are walking the track too, so they're out there enjoying and rooting on the 4-wheeler guys.
Yeah, I think we've seen the KR557 out there, Caleb Russell out walking.
With Ryan Sipes.
Ryan Sipes, and I got to say, man, I both caught Caleb and Charlie coming into this weekend. It's a whole new world out there for those guys. They are both in such a zone. I seen Josh Strang there a few minutes ago. He appears to be in a zone this weekend also. I'm amazed. Tomorrow is going to be such a great day for the 2-wheel side of things. I mean, I think what we're seeing today is only going to intensify and build for tomorrow, and that's really hard to believe that's going to happen, but I think it will.
Yeah, you know, tomorrow I think my pick for tomorrow might be Andrew DeLong. You know, he came here when he rode for me on his Husqvarna, and he almost got the overall here, and I think he really likes this track, and he spent some time on that bike, so I'm looking for at least a podium out of him tomorrow.
You know, I'm not going to go against you on that. I don't know necessarily that we would see him. I would pick him to win, but I certainly would pick him for a solid podium tomorrow, and a possibility of a win, as we never know what's going to happen. But yeah, this is the kind of terrain that Andrew does seem to excel in, these kind of little these rocky and rooty and uphills and just challenging off-camber type stuff. So as we look at the clock on the wall, a little less than 14 minutes, about 13 and a half minutes now before our leaders do in. That'll put us in just under the 2-hour mark. And there's our leaders, Borch. There's Walker. Fowler still in second. He's riding with that intensity and that fever, and it looks like Bithell might be hanging back.
He caught back up a little bit, actually, Rodney, from that little bobble he had right there on the log he got caught on.
Yeah, and he's probably hanging back a little bit thinking, okay, I think Walker's got him up his sleeve. Maybe I ought to watch and see if Walker forces themselves into a problem and might be able to capitalize and take advantage of that. But, man, what a stellar move by and a gutsy move by Walker Fowler there to make that pass there a few moments ago. Last time around, McGill was almost 30 seconds behind, and I think that he was running about that same pace when we saw him just a couple of miles ago. As we check in with him now, there is your fourth place ride, still holding within that 30-second or so time frame as the leaders work their way toward the finish here in about 12 and a half minutes at this Dunlop Limestone 100 GNCC. And we'll be back with more of GNCC Live right after this. And welcome back to the Lawrence County Recreation Park as we roll through our fifth round of America's Premier Off-Road Racing Championship, the AMSOIL GNCC Series presented by Maxxis and AMA National Championship. Rodney Tomlin here, Fred Andrews there, and Jen Kenyon out and about as we motor our way to the conclusion of what has been a fairly exciting race, Fred Andrews. We saw Chris Bithell take the early lead, led the biggest part of it here on this final lap. Chris Borch has done the traditional Borch move and has made the pass. The only thing that he hasn't done has began to pull away, and we haven't seen that big gap that he usually establishes when he does something like that. What we have seen is the fever and the fire intensify with those top three riders. There just a few moments ago, we actually caught it on camera. Walker Fowler right on the rear wheel of the second place ride, the number 4 of Chris Bithell, was able to make the pass. Bithell got caught on a log, lost a little bit of time. We picked him back up. It was nose to tail for Walker Fowler and Chris Borch, and then it was just a few seconds back to Chris Bithell, who had obviously made up some of that lost time trying to regain that composure and get back in that mix of that three-way battle.
Yeah, Rodney, all it took was one little bobble by Borch when Walker was right behind him for Bithell to go around him, so maybe that's what Bithell's going to try now. He's going to lay back a little bit and see if Borch has a little bit of a bobble and he can pass them both.
You know, something else that kind of entertained and intrigued me at the same time is whenever that pass was made by Walker Fowler, how quickly I saw the helmet and the head snap back and turn around and look of Chris Borch as if he knew something was going on back behind him and something had happened and he wasn't quite for sure. He wanted to see for sure what it was. He saw what it was. He got a goggle full of Walker Fowler, and that's exactly what he has been faced with pretty much since that point. And every time we pick him up on the track, they're still nose to tail. And still right now, man, we want to say congratulations to looks like Brody Johnson at Brody Johnson 235. He says Borch, Fowler, Bithell, and at this point he could be the winner there. Not only he is the winner of $250 in AMSOIL product, but he could also be right at the same time as we are motoring toward the finish line right now in this exact order. Borch, Fowler, and Bithell. Congratulations at Brody Johnson 235. And if you're back home listening or here at the race park watching live and listening, make sure that you are following us at RacerTV, and also whenever you do all of your hashtagging, it's always hashtag GNCC Live, and that puts all of our comments together, and we get to see what you're thinking about the TV show, about the GNCC racing itself, and everything that is, everything that you want to share with us there with the Twitter accounts and Twitter things that we do out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, too, I think when you're talking about Borch, when he looked over the shoulder, I think he heard something, and he knew he stumbled. He knew somebody was coming, so that's why he turned and saw that.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to wonder, the arm pump in the early part of the race, is that an issue? Now, I would say no. I wouldn't think so the way he's riding or anything like that. But at the same time, could it be an issue late in the race with the intensity and the fever so tight right now?
No, arm pump right now is the least of their worries. You know, they're so high on adrenaline and just wanting to win this race. If their arms are going to pump up, they've already pumped up and be gone by now. And right now they're just focused on getting a clean lap in, trying to get by these lappers, trying to get to the finish without having any trouble.
Well, these leaders are going to be coming into this nice big long chicane section here in just a moment, and they will be led by Chris Borich. It's still another 6 minutes or so before we see him. I think we'll see him right here possibly before they make their way to the finish line. But an hour and now almost 51 minutes into this race, and, you know, heading into this one, you never really know what's going to happen and how it's all going to transpire and unfold. And I think today we've seen a lot of surprises, not necessarily in our front four, but from 5th place on back, I think we've seen a lot of positives take place in a lot of programs out there today, Fred. You know, we talk about Bithell, Fowler, and Borich a lot, and even McGill, who has dropped somewhat back in that 4th place position. But, you know, it's the unsung guys like the rookies like Jay Shadron, Brian Wolf, who has seen nothing but struggles over the last couple of seasons, it seems like. The young rookie Bryson Neal, Braden Henthorne, who is a sophomore this year and has had some solid rides. He's just been outside the top 5 a lot. He's currently 6th in points, but, you know, don't get a lot of the recognition. But, man, I mean, today the fever that they have fought with out there to be where they are in position of this class, a lot of the jumbling around in the position, the jockeying of the position changes itself has just been phenomenal. And, you know, what we've paid attention to up front has only been a small part of what this XC1 Pro class has to offer. And the great thing about it is it's going on in the XC2 Pro-Am right now.
The college boy class has got some great riders in it.
Yeah, and the vet class. The junior class has got a good one, and I'm going to quickly, the top 3 or 4 in these, that I'm going to highlight some of the intense battles. The XC2 Pro-Am, Goings and Richardson coming through 2.6 seconds apart for the battle for 1st place. Cunningham and Marley running, well, Cunningham was running 3rd. Marley was back about a minute and a half in the 4th place position, so we don't look for him in the podium position spot unless something happens on this final lap. But, man, he rode a good, solid race today in that. The College A class, Blake Tornes is now into the number 1 spot after 3. Cameron Bruce is 2nd. Bryson Hobson 3rd. There's 2 seconds separating 1st and 2nd right now. And I know that the Junior A class had seen its excitement as well. Michael Marley, who has led this one pretty much from start to finish, has now pulled out a 22-second lead over Michael McAvoy and Jeff Bobo back in the number 3 spot, about 10 seconds off the pace. So, again, you know, it's still pretty tight. That Junior A class starting to stretch out. But the rest of these, man, 2 seconds amongst the top riders in each class is pretty intense and pretty amazing. And it's certainly going to take us home, I think, to an exciting finish in the overall today. When we take a look at that, it is the overall top amateur, Blake Tornes, who was running 3rd and didn't even look to be so much of a threat for a top overall spot today, is now in the driver's seat by 2.5 seconds over Cameron Bruce, and they're running 21st and 22nd right now, Fred, as we watch this late section of the racetrack.
The leaders just went by, Rodney, where you were giving your update there, and it was Borich was in the lead, and Walker Fowler was pushing him right on his tail, and I'd say Bithell was probably back about 15 seconds. So it looks like we're going to come down to a Borich Walker Fowler battle here at the finish. Looks like maybe Bithell's had a little bit of trouble. It dropped back just a little bit.
And we saw a lot of traffic in there, so I'd say that trying to weed his way through some of that lap traffic has been a big obstacle for him. Maybe not so much for Walker and Chris, especially for Walker, because when Chris goes through, Walker is right behind him, right there on the rear wheel of him, ready to strike and ready to capitalize on any mistakes. And, you know, the neat thing about it for Walker, he is right in position, I think, where he wants to be right now. Working with Bill Balance for all those years and working with Randy Hawkins, the one bit of advice it seems that both of these mentors have given the young Walker Fowler over the last few years is that, you know, being able to ride smart, being able to capitalize on mistakes, and also being able to position yourself to, you know, on that last lap to surprise. take a line that somebody wasn't necessarily expecting, or hold that back on the final few moments of the race. And each one of these riders, I'm sure, have got that secret little place. It's just a matter of whether or not they can find it and whether or not the rider ahead of them has found it.
Yeah, and everybody kind of walks maybe a mile before the finish, because you kind of always look for that little line that maybe if it comes down to it, that you would take that chance to go all or nothing to get that elusive win or not. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and plus it all depends on where you're at. If you're close enough to him, you can try. And I'm sure Walker right now, he is right on the tail of Chris Borch, and he's just giving it everything he's got. And if he's got a line, he is going to take it.
He is, and I'm sure that he has studied this last half mile of this race course, as we know that, like we say,
That looks like Borch right there.
Here they come, and now
Walker right behind him.
Will he have that line? And it looks like the line will elude him. I would almost have to say that Chris Borch has studied this track as closely as Walker Fowler has as we head through the Amsoil chicanes. Will Walker Fowler push the issue? We see him showing a wheel in and out of some of these turns. We haven't seen any bumping or grinding just yet, but at the same time, who's to say it won't happen? Well, I will, because there we are. Checker flag is out, and Chris Borch wins another barn burner here today as he redeems himself in the great state of Indiana here at this Limestone GNCC. Man, I tell you, from a year ago to what we just saw right there, that Chris Borch has got to be riding on a major wave of adrenaline, excitement, and just pure satisfaction that he was able to make it happen like that.
Roddy, too, and that win wasn't given to him. Walker kept him honest the whole race. All three of those guys battled all day long to get to where they're at. And then you can see when they come in, they shake their hand. Everybody in there's happy. They know they gave it their all, and Chris came out on top. But there's not a sad guy in those top three right there.
They're not, and they will kick themselves, and they will feel a little frustrated, quite possibly, other than Chris Borch, obviously. Chris Bithell, I know, will be very frustrated. I know that Walker Fowler will have his frustrations, but at the same time, like you say, they're very satisfied that, they had a good, strong finish. And, something interesting, too, is the fact that Walker Fowler needs these second-place finishes and these better and stronger finishes and even wins probably as much or more than what Chris Borch needs them right now. If you take a look at the point standings, Chris Borch had a fairly healthy points lead coming into this. He just extended it by 5 more right there. So with that being said, that puts him in the 150-point range or something like that. Walker Fowler was into the 90s. This right here will put him into the 130s or so, maybe 120, upper 120s or whatever the case may be as far as points are concerned. But wow, look at this. What's going on? We thought that they were shaking hands, and now looks like a little
Adam
drama.
McGill's not very happy with him.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I thought that was Walker Fowler. Man, Adam has had a lot of frustration this year. After talking with Adam, he had the issues in Florida. It was non-typical, out of character for him to be the way that he was. And, I've seen it a couple of different times, and there it is again, man. There must be a lot of pressure building up on Adam and his program. He must be putting a lot of pressure on himself, and that's not all bad. It's just unfortunate, that sometimes, you see it play out like this. But I'm sure whatever it is, they'll get it sorted out, and it'll be a thing of the past when we see these guys ready to race here in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, give it 5 or 10 minutes right now. Everybody will kind of cool off, and they'll be over there talking together again, and they'll be friends. I mean, they're friends right before it started. They'll be friends afterwards. I'm sure it wasn't anything, a huge deal, because, if it was, they'd both be on the ground right now wrestling.
That would be real TV right there. But right now, speaking of real TV, we got the real Jen Kenyon down there in the winner's circle in our Maxis Victory Lane, and she is standing by with, of course, our top 3 overall finishers here at this Dunlop Limestone 100 GNCC. Jen?
All right, Chris Bithell, 3rd place here today. You came out like a rocket ship. Tell us about that day.
Yeah, I pulled the whole shot, first one ever in my GNCC history. So, I was pumped from that. I don't know, the machine was working awesome today. I felt good right off the bat. I made a few changes, and they worked good in the beginning, and then as the track got rougher, it didn't go as well. But, I just stayed out front and did my own thing. I could hear everybody behind me and stuff. And, I just let them do their own thing. If
I wasn't letting anybody pass, but, you know, if they had a good line, they could pass me. I just rode my own race, and, you know, at the end, both guys got around me in the creek section. They had a better line than I did, and then I was able to keep up a little bit, and then hand started to blister up pretty bad at the end, and you know, I was able to, you know, hold on for third, which is great for me, but I had fun, you know, leading. I wish I could have stayed there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, it was a little bit warmer than you guys have seen all season. Did that have any kind of play into, you know, the racing out there?
You know, I don't really think that the heat had anything to do with it. I felt good all day. Like I said, I think I had a few, you know, issues with suspension and stuff, which was my own problem, you know, changing stuff I shouldn't have before the race and trying out new grips and stuff. And played a toll on my hands, but, you know, we'll come back strong, you know, next time.
All right, well, sure was an exciting one for all the fans out here. Good job out there.
All right, thank you.
Rodney, I'm actually going to send it back up to you so I can adjust a couple things here on my headset.
All right, sounds good. And that's our own Jen Kenyon out there, out and about. Jenny on the spot, as I like to call her. And, you know, just getting some information there off the track. And we are, you know, you wonder about Adam McGill when we saw that little confrontation down there at the finish line just a moment ago, Fred, and was talking with Digital Dave from RaceDayPicks.com, and he was telling us that no incidents in particular in amongst these riders on the track, but on the first lap he saw Adam really struggling with a log right after a hill climb out there, and he wrecked it, flipped the bike, got off of it, got it stuck between two trees, and from the way Dave was talking, it seems like that Adam has really struggled all day long and had a lot of things that was frustrating him, and I'm sure that it all culminated there toward the end with not getting the finish that he'd hoped for and wanted here in Indiana.
Yeah, you know, sometimes your emotions get the best of you, and you try your hardest, and little things happen out there on the track, and some things that really aren't that big of a deal turn out that you think are a big deal. So, you know, I'm sure Adam's going to think it through, and he'll be ready in 2 weeks. You know, if he did have trouble the first laps, he did catch up very well because he was in the contention to win. You know, they were four abreast and nose to tail for a while. So,
yeah, and it's wow, man. I mean, Walker Fowler putting on a great show again today, and just couldn't make it happen. And Jen Kenyon stand by with him.
Walker Fowler, you and Chris Borch just had one of the most epic battles coming into the finish line. I know you guys were close all day, but that was one of the closest finishes that I've seen you guys have in a long time. Tell us about it out there.
Yeah, I got off to a really bad start that turned out to be really great. Going into the third corner, everyone just dove to the inside, and I railed the outside, got around Bryce and Neal and Borch and a whole bunch of other guys, and we just rode good. Chris Bithell was out front, really picked up a good pace, and me, McGill, and Chris Bithell, we just kind of checked out from everybody, and I think that was, you know, a good thing to try to do at the beginning, get Chris's Borch's Suzuki, running a little hard, getting the clutches warm, and just trying to, we're all trying to figure out a way to beat him, but, he's tough, and I made a little bit of a bonehead move the last lap, and Borch actually followed me, and we both just about ended our day early, I think, but decided to, not back down, and we both got around Bithell about the same time, and from there on out, I was just rubbing the tires off of Chris's Suzuki, and we just couldn't get it done today, but it was a lot of fun. He raced me clean. So I got up beside him here at the finish line, but it just not enough room to get the pass done. But that was fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have to tell you, we saw your pass on Bithell. The RacerTV cameras actually caught that, and the guys in the trailer were high-fiving each other because it was such a cool moment to get that on camera. So I know you saw a few tweets out there. People were pumped that they got to see that, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, good deal. RacerTV Live, it's really awesome. They're starting to get a lot of every time we break down, crash, or pass, they're really starting to be in the right spots at the right times, and it's pretty cool. So I hope everybody enjoyed that race. I hope it was just as fun to watch because it was a heck of a good time to be on the four-wheelers.
Well, it's always a good thing to see you smiling, especially in the second place position. It's not quite where you want to be. You got the win here last year, so we were expecting you to be strong, and you were that. So congratulations on an awesome ride.
Well, absolutely, thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to make our way over to our first place finisher, Chris Borch, which is over here next to the Chris Bithell machine. Chris, you're always a social guy, but even more so when you win races. Tell us about that one out there.
Yeah, it was a tough one. Chris and these guys got out front early, and I made a mistake down there in the creek section. It seems like they changed it up after we mountain biked it, but we were able to put the hammer down. I thought it was going to be a long day, and yeah, we just put the hammer down, caught up to these guys, and then just had pretty much a four-way battle. And then me and McGill towards the end there, probably, I don't know, white flag, going for white flag. Seen a line, took a line, and me and him were both committed to go over this log. And it was kind of up on an angle, and I was to the right of it where it was the smaller side to go up over, and we got together and it shoved him up onto the log. So I know he was a little heated after, so I want to apologize for that. I mean, I was just at that point just going to make positions. I mean, I was way back and just trying to charge up through. But other than that, I mean, me, Walker, and Chris Bithell towards the end had a great battle. Walker tried some lines and was able to get it.
Now talk about the end of that race. I know that you made that pass on Walker there at the end, or on Bithell as well. Did you have that spot picked out, or where are you getting these last lap Borch pass moves? Are these things that you knew you were going to do beforehand, or did you just kind of pull it out of the hat last minute?
Pretty much just pulled it out of the hat. I had a couple lines out there, but basically all the lines that I've seen were already taken, and they just made a couple mistakes, and I honestly don't even remember. The last lap went by so quick, just trying to jockey around and get in your position, and I knew I wanted to try to get out front on the last lap there, and was able to hold these guys off.
All right, well, Chris Borch, you've claimed the Limestone 100 back. Walker got the win last year. Now it's yours here in 2014. Good job out there.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to send it back up to you, and we'll round up our XT2 winner for you.
All righty, thanks a lot, Jen Kenyon. And as wow. Sounds like there was a pretty frustrating day there for Adam McGill, and it sounds like that he had a couple of issues with logs more than...
you know, it's two guys going for the same line, Rodney. That was racing part of it, and, you know, Adam could have been on the other side of the fence, and, you know, he could have been the one that didn't get stuck. So, you know, nothing intentional, as Chris said. You know, they were both just going for the same line. So
yep, it happens.
That's racing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess Adam came out on the short end of the stick, and you know, hey, if it'd been Chris in the same boat, probably.
Oh yeah,
Chris
would have been upset too. But
yep.
you know, that's part of it.
And that's the great thing. Chris does understand that, and he hopes, and I know that they're going to get it all sorted out, and they probably already have at this point. But they probably said what they need to say. But you know, there's something I need to say. What is it, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? May 17th is going to be a special broadcast of RacerTV.com. We are actually going to be doing the AMA Pro ATV Motocross Championship. Mountain Dew ATV Motocross Nationals are going to be going to High Point Raceway May 17th, and we're going to be live with the pro motos on that, and we invite everybody to tune into that. We also encourage everybody to spread the word around. It'll be the first time ever that we've seen live ATV motocross racing action here on RacerTV.com, and I, for one, am pretty excited. Both motos are going to be shown. We've got some special features that we're going to be.
Wonderful track for it.
It is, and it will definitely showcase what the ATV motocross stars are certainly capable of, leading into the Lucas Oil High Point National that's coming up only a few weeks after that.
Yeah, I remember going to High Point when I was a kid. I looked forward to it every year, and then fortunate enough, you know, I was a pro motocrosser, so I got to race there too.
Wow, cool. And you even got to do it as a GNCCer at one point,
all.
believe it or not. So there you go. And there you go down into the winner's circle once again as Jen Kenyon standing by with our XC2 Pro Class leader.
Thanks, Rodney. We're here with XC2 Pro-Am winner Marshall Goings. Marshall, you're an Indiana boy. You won in your home state. That's got to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, it feels great just to be a couple hours from home and take the XC2 win here at the GNCC, and it's picking them off one by one, trying to.
Yeah, so these wins are starting to probably get a little bit more real every time. The first time you were really pumped about it, and now you're like, okay, now I have my eye on the prize. I don't want to just win races, I want to win championships.
Yeah, once everything started clicking, man, it feels like that from there on out you got it good, but to get them to click, that's the hard part.
Yeah, but once you get going, it seems like you're on a roll. It's happened, you know, every step of the way for you, it seems like. So you're just now in your groove here in the XC2 class. Talk about the race a little bit out there.
The race went good. Me and Cole kind of got off to a late start there, and we kind of ran up through the people and hit the last lap. He passed me back probably a mile to go from the finish, and they had a line pointed out for me, and I ended up getting back around him. So it was an exciting finish.
So it's good to have some people out there in the woods to help you out, right?
That's right. Yeah, if it wasn't for the fans, I wouldn't be up here today.
Well, I have a feeling they were probably cheering a little extra harder for the Indiana boy. Good job out there. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Jen, and congratulations to Marshall, man. I mean, he put together a stellar ride. That was a very competitive XC2 Pro-Am class today, as I think every class that we focused on and every class we've watched today was highly competitive and exciting to watch. And, you know, it all continues tomorrow, man, as we continue with RacerTV.com and more GNCC Live as the two-wheel action gets set to get underway. And your team with the KR4 boys and the Husqvarna rider of Andrew DeLong is going to be going after a podium and possibly his first win as an XC1 Pro coming up tomorrow, man.
That's my pick.
That's your pick. And my pick is a great race between all these guys because that's one that you never know. But I have to lean towards those top three guys. Well,
weather's going to be good.
Weather's going to be good. My picks are Whibley, Strang, Mullins, Russell, and my wild card, Bad Thad Duvall. That's my wild card for tomorrow. And also do want to remind folks that we'll be back on the air with more ATV GNCC racing in 2 weeks. That will be May 10th at the Parts Unlimited Loretta Lynn GNCC, as we'll be returning back to Loretta Lynn's. We haven't been there where we missed out last year. We get to go back. And then, of course, on that Sunday we'll do the motorcycles. And like we said, that following Saturday, the 17th, will be with ATV Motocross, the Mountain Dew AMA ATV Nationals, coming to High Point Raceway. So we got a lot of great things going on RacerTV.com, and I think maybe next weekend we might have a break, but from there on, the rest of the summer, I think it's full bore ahead, man. So
wide open.
Wide open, man. It's all racing all the time right here at RacerTV.com, and that's going to wrap up things here today for the show. And just remember, tune back in around 1 o'clock tomorrow. But, man, just a great race today. Want to send a salute out to all the folks that made it all possible, the crew itself doing a spectacular job. Everybody from the camera crew to the guys on the board, the switcher back there doing a great job. And also happy birthday to our own Jenny on the spot, Jen Kenyon, celebrating, I think, her 24th birthday. So happy birthday to you, Jen Kenyon. And Fred Andrews, thank you again for another great broadcast day. On behalf of all of us here at RacerTV.com and, of course, Racer Productions, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody.
Boom!